be in the sequel.
When there's no more room in hell, the Disenfranchised podcast will walk the earth. That's right, that podcast all about those franchises of one, those films that fancy themselves full-fledged franchises before falling flat on their face after the first film. It is our Spooky-thon, and I am your host, Stephen Foxworthy, and joining me, as always, the man who tries not to come back. It's Brett, right? Hey, Brett.
Hold on, I need a minute to compose myself after that. Hello, Steven.
How we doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing all right, man. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I feel like I'm on this roll now of like not intending to throw you off in my intro, but figuring out a way to do it anyway.
It's impressive every time.
Well, you know, it's always nice when you can hit the mark. And Brett also joining us this week, as he often does these days, is the man who knows how to rate a sporting goods store. It's Tucker. Hey, Tucker.
Hi, Steven. Genghis Khan knows how to rate a sporting goods store, too.
Yeah, he does. So you're in good company, or maybe bad company. I don't know. Where is Genghis Khan canceled? Is that what we're doing?
I'm pretty sure he is.
Okay, all right.
He's the only one that he's the only one that shows up in Bill and Ted, where I'm like, you guys sure you wanted to pick that guy up? Like, he's probably gonna kill you and have sex with every woman he sees.
Correct.
That's probably gonna happen.
Yeah, at least. Yeah. No, the fact that he doesn't just means that movie is not historically accurate.
Well, they gave him Twinkies. He enjoys the excellent sugar rush.
That's true. And speaking of excellent sugar rushes, this is our Romero Remakes Spooky-thon, where we are discussing all of the George Romero remakes that did not get sequels, but very probably could have. And so today we are discussing what film, Brett?
Dawn of the Dead.
2004's Dawn of the Dead, directed by Zack Snyder, written by James Gunn, and starring Sarah Polley, Ving Rhames, Mekhi Phifer, Jake Weber, Ty Burrell, Michael Kelly, Keith Zeggers, Michael Berry, Lindy Booth, Jane Eastwood, Boyd Banks, and many others. Matt Frewer. We got cameos by three members of the original cast: Ken Foree, Tom Savini, and it's Scott H. Reiniger. I think I pronounced that right. What a cast. What a picture.
Yeah, dude.
Kind of.
It's pretty all right. Yeah. Did you say you hate it?
I don't hate it. I don't hate it outright. There's things that I like about
it.
Pun 100% intended. No, look, I when it comes to zombie stories, I'm a sucker for the ones that show the beginning of the outbreak and how society collapses. Miss me with that post-apocalyptic shit. It's boring as hell.
And see, that's what's weird about the Romero remakes, because in the original trilogy, like I said in the last episode, they're connected by where they are in the outbreak. Right. Like when we get to Dawn, they're already almost a month into that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then like at least, 3 or 4 months go by. At least. And then Day is like a year or so after. But each one of the remakes all start at the beginning. Spoilers for next week. But yeah, they all start at the beginning of the outbreak, which is the only thing that really, really turns me off about the Dawn and the Day remakes. It's like, why? Like, why even fucking call it that if you're just going to like make a completely different movie with, a few nods to the original? That's why Steven and I were talking about this before we started. This movie isn't a remake. It's an homage. At best. It's an homage.
Yeah, because, at least you can sort of get away with calling it Dawn of the Dead, because dawn is the beginning of a day, so...
And also, every exterior scene seems to take place at or near dawn. Yeah. Like we wouldn't notice, just bludgeon us over the head with it, Zack Snyder. Yeah. But,
good old Zachary Snyder.
Zachary Snyder is the epitome of the meme. I know a lot of directors who use subtlety, and they're all cowards.
Wait, is he Zachary, or he
It's no,
could be
it's
he could
Zach.
be a Zacchaeus.
He could. I'm gonna.
Zachariah. Be
He
Zachariah.
could be a wee little man.
Zachary Edward Zack Snyder, according to
there you
his
go.
IMDb profile.
I see. No tax
guy's
collectors
cool.
here.
Nope.
It's just an odd choice to do a remake in terms of this one and the next one. It's weird to do a remake of what is really like the second and third movie in a trilogy, but without
Mhm.
the first one or the first two to precede it.
Mhm.
Seems like an odd choice.
Well, and I think that's what makes the remakes of this franchise in particular so interesting, is that because of the way the original trilogy is so spaced out, I guess, in terms of the fact that there are no returning characters from film to film, and there's different settings in each one, different things that Romero is commenting on in society. They are connected only insofar as they are written and directed by George Romero. And these, so the remakes then are not connected by anything other than the titles having
The
dead
fact that
in
they are
them.
remakes of that trilogy, yeah.
Right. I mean, it's different studios every time. It's different creative voices, different filmmakers. Like there's and which is the reason why we're covering them. Honestly, is because there is nothing connecting those films. This is not a sequel to the Tom Savini remake of Night of the Living Dead, nor is Day of the Dead, the 2008 remake, Steve Miner's Day of the Dead, a sequel to Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead.
It is not.
They're three
Absolutely
completely
is
different
not.
films taking place within three completely separate realities. And I think
That's true.
that's what gives us our entry point in to this entire theme month, honestly, is the fact that we're able to discuss these this way because of that discrepancy.
And, you know, say what you want about this movie, but
And we will.
Land of the Dead doesn't exist without this. Like, this hit at the box office, and instead of making a sequel to this, they were like, "Hey, George Romero, what you up to? What if we give you like, I don't know, $20 million to do something? Would you do that?" And he's like, "Actually, yeah, I would."
Like, look,
Yeah.
zombies are huge now. Why don't we
Yeah.
go ask the guy that started it?
Right.
See if he wants to do something.
As opposed to
Right?
pitching him on a Resident Evil movie and telling him there's too many zombies in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, this is Universal, and so is Land of the Dead is Universal as well. Like it's a direct link between this and Land of the Dead. It came out, I think Land of the Dead came out maybe a year, maybe 2 years later.
I'll look it up.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait until you do, Steven. I'm pretty sure it came out in 2005. Because I still
Land of the
didn't have a
Dead
car
does
when
come
Land of the
out
Dead
in
came out.
2005. That is correct.
Mm-hmm.
And let me see if I can get the date, actually, so I can tell you exactly how long after it was. Scrolling.
And I would also say the thing connecting all the originals isn't just George Romero being the director, but also the zombie evolution.
Mhm.
Like the zombies
Yeah,
act roughly the same, but you can see them evolve through each movie.
Fair.
Yeah, no, and it's like I was saying last week, they're just connected by where they are in the outbreak. They are timeline sequels without sharing a timeline, if that makes sense. Yeah.
So the remake, Dawn of the Dead remake, comes out March 2004. Land of the Dead comes out June 2005. So just a little over a year later, we have the fourth Dead film from George Romero, the kickoff of his second trilogy.
Is that enough time? Like, were they already working on Land of the Dead? Is that enough time?
I think that's enough time, because I am certain. I don't know if you guys remember the poster to Land of the Dead, but it goes way out of its way to mention George Romero, to the fact to where the poster is autographed by George Romero.
That's amazing.
Like,
yes, it
really
is. I'm looking at
it.
I'm looking at it right now. That is incredible. The legendary filmmaker brings you his ultimate zombie masterpiece, George A. Romero's Land of the Dead. And he signs it, "Stay scared, G.A. Romero."
Which is what he signs everything. Like,
So.
I've showed you my book that he signed. Everything he signs, stay scared. Everything.
I mean, great. I will, as long as you keep making movies, George. Oh, he's gone.
Consistency. And I was $5 million off on the budget. It was $15 million.
Okay.
But we didn't come here to talk about Land of the Dead, boys.
No, we did not. We're here to talk about Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. I will go ahead and just get my experience with this movie out of the way first. I knew it existed, but I didn't see it until yesterday when I watched it for this podcast. So I had heard that it was one of Snyder's better films, and after seeing it, I agree.
That was a pretty low bar, though. Don't get it twisted. That's a low bar.
It's either this or Man of Steel are for my favorite Snyder film.
I really
that
like
bar
Man
is
of Steel.
Practically on the floor.
Here's the thing. I am not completely out on Snyder as a filmmaker. I think his fan base sucks ass. But I think he has a skill. He has a skill set and he uses it. The problem is sometimes he overuses it. See the Snyder cut of Justice League, which, I mean, if you took out all the slow-mo, that movie would have been like a tight 90. Instead, it's a 4-hour long movie because he just couldn't fucking help himself, because he didn't have to help himself. So that's what we get. But and there are two of his movies I still have not seen. I've not seen Sucker Punch because I'm waiting till we watch it for this podcast.
Oh, okay.
And I've not yet seen Army of the Dead because who's got time to sit down and watch a 3-hour zombie movie? Not me yet.
That one was here's what I'll say about Army of the Dead is I had a lot of fun watching it, but I don't remember a lot about it.
I believe that, actually.
Except for a couple characters. There are a couple characters that stood out that kind of stuck with me. But outside of that, like, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. It really was. There was some really cool stuff going on. But
and that movie had a sequel on Netflix like 6 months later.
Yeah, and I want to see it because it's not a zombie movie. It's like a heist thriller.
It is, yeah, which I think is actually, it's like Army of Thieves, I think is what it's called.
It has
very interesting.
It has the one of the two characters in it that I remembered from the movie. So I keep meaning to watch it, but I forgot about it. Just like Army of the Dead, I totally forgot it existed.
So yeah, those are the two Snyder films that I have to date not seen.
Sucker Punch is a guilty pleasure movie. I completely acknowledge it is.
It's so much fun.
Hot, stinking garbage, but I kind of dig it anyway. I don't know.
I'm glad to hear you say that, Brett, because at least I'm not alone. I understand its flaws, but damn it if it's not a good time, and damn it if it doesn't look wonderful. That is a beautiful movie.
And I also understand how problematic it is, but you know what?
Yeah.
It's fun.
But you know what? Most of the people that I know that really dig that movie are women. So, I don't know. Like, is it problematic? Well, because the women that I know that enjoy it say that it's not. It's only the guys that I've talked to that are like, oh, oh, man.
I guess it depends on how you look at it. Because you can also look at it from the point of view of, like, it's a female empowerment sort of.
I mean, we had a similar conversation about Catwoman, Brett, if you recall.
No, that's true. Yeah.
You know, it depends on perspective. Like, you were kind of just outright fuck this movie, and, you know, like, but you get on Twitter and type in Catwoman, and there's a ton of women who find it very empowering. So,
yeah,
you know,
which I mean, look, I'm just a cishet white dude with a beard, even. So, like, that's like a cherry on top of the cishet white guy.
To your credit, the beard is not, you know, intrude only on your neck. So, you know, there's.
Oh no, I avoid that shit. I keep it off my neck because you're not supposed to have it on your neck. That's the thing.
Me too. Look at this. Look at this trim job. I do this myself. Look at that. How straight those lines are.
Get that shit good.
Oh, nice.
No, but yeah. So that's just me. So like, I don't have a voice there. If they want to say it's a great movie and they love it, awesome, cool.
Yeah,
I dig it. I'm gonna listen to you.
I was gonna say at that point, it's our job to listen. So
yeah,
I'm
gonna sit down and shut the fuck up.
That's it. And not everything has to be for everybody. As I've said many times,
And that's also the nature of art is
Mhm.
everybody is allowed to have their own interpretation of it.
And yeah, we get to interpret it and we get to interpret it in different ways than the artist intended, which I find great.
Me too.
Also true.
I wrote a short story once that one of my teachers used in her class, and kids would come up and ask me questions about what I intended when I wrote it, and I'm just like, I don't know, what do you think? Because I intended it one way, but if you see something else in it, that's probably right. And it's moments like that that I really respect David Lynch, who refuses to interpret his movies for anybody.
Yeah.
Eraserhead's your most spiritual film. You gonna elaborate on that? No, he's not.
Oh, dude.
And
It's
I love
more
him
fun.
for it. I love him for it.
It's more fun to be a little ambiguous about that kind of stuff. Let people figure it out on their own or put their own meaning onto it. That's what's fun about art.
That's what gives art meaning, is the meaning that we imbue it. We imbue it with. So yeah.
Absolutely. Everything, like when I write music, my solo music, that means something. All of those words mean something. Like
Right.
that it's meticulously plotted to get a point across, or to say a certain thing. But when I write lyrics, when I'm in a band, it's all just whatever sounds good coming out of my mouth, and I try to kind of connect it as best as I can. And people have interpreted. I just love hearing what people interpret the songs as, because I have no intention behind them except to sound good.
The Nirvana.
So like when
Dylan
people are
approach.
like, "Oh, this means da 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 da," and I'm like, "Yeah, dude, never thought of it that way before. In fact, never thought of it at all. I just sang the song, and that's wild. That's wild. I love that. That's what I love about art, man.
Yeah, it's like Bob Dylan effect, the Nirvana method. Like that's why
MF Doom.
Yeah, sometimes
same,
they just say words to match the music, and that doesn't really mean anything.
The Allen Ginsberg School of Writing. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Right on. Brett, what's your history with let's say the original Dawn of the Dead and the Dawn of the Dead remake?
I would say that it looks so. I mean, I saw it when it came out because me and my dad went and saw it because we were like, "Fuck yeah, Dawn of the Dead's great. Let's go watch a remake." Because horror remakes weren't exactly fresh around this time, but
yeah. Well, this is only a year after the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake.
Well, and Dark Castle had been like up everybody's ass with remaking every William Castle movie ever, like House on
that's true.
Hill, 13 Goats, House of Wax.
I forgot. Well, House of Wax is the year after, but yeah, no,
honestly around that time, like I thought those were some pretty good movies.
I still love all three of those movies I just mentioned. I think they're all fucking phenomenal. Well, they're not good movies, but they're a lot of fun. I love.
You shut your mouth about 13 Ghosts. 13 Ghosts.
Oh no, you're right.
Really good film.
Goats, Brett?
Yes, 13 Goats.
Okay.
Yes.
No ghosts. God damn it! Pay attention.
Have you not seen the goat cut? They're wearing the glasses. It's hilarious. So I went into this thinking it was going to be great, and at the time, I think I enjoyed it at the time. Really enjoyed it. Like, thought it was great. It was only after once you saw what Running Zombies did to the genre when I started to really resent this film.
Because you're on record as being anti-Fast Zombie.
Yes. Go
see our World War Z episode for Brett's screed against Fast Zombies.
Or there's a bunch of other episodes.
I was going to say, but that was the big one. That's the reason we picked World War Z, is because you wanted to go off on some Fast Zombies.
That's when I climb the hill and proceed to die on it.
Yes. Correct. Yes. Like so many Seven Samurai before him.
Yeah. That's all right. I'll be up there just barely hanging on with you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that, brother.
And we actually did do a little bit of the history of the Fast Zombie last week.
Yeah. We
on our Night of the Living Dead episode.
Yeah. This is where I think this is where we're really going to talk about it, because 28 days later it had been out, and that they weren't really zombies. So I don't think I really clocked that.
That's why it makes sense, is because they're still alive. They just are driven insane by a disease.
But
that's why it makes sense.
it's the pandemic nature of it that I think, and kind of the dead-eyed whatever of it, that kind of leads people to draw the correlation between the creatures in 28 Days Later and zombies. And
Yeah.
Oh,
so
it's
that then
certainly
becomes
zombie adjacent.
As
right.
I said last week, if you were to ask random Joe Schmo on the street, are the 28 Days Later get things zombies? They would say yes.
Yeah.
Um, but then, I mean, I get it. That's right in line with any other nerdy argument. Like, does a zombie have to be dead to be a zombie, or does it just have to be mindless, ravenous creature that was once human? I have an opinion, but other people might not, and so that's where it is.
Well, for me, it's like, you know how a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle's not a square?
Yes,
It's kind of that thing.
it's a very
With the
perfect
28
example,
Days
yes.
Later. Yeah, like, are they zombies? No. But do they belong on the infographic in the circle of zombies? Yes.
Yeah, there's a Venn diagram where they're in the same
Yeah.
space. Sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But no, when it comes to this movie, like I remember really enjoying it. I really liked it. This is probably the first zombie movie that like really frightened me because they ran. Like, because I'm like, before you watch a zombie movie, you're like, yeah, you just, like Barbara says, you just walk around them.
You could just walk right by them.
You just walk
You
right
just
by
walk
them.
right by them.
But once they're
They're fast
running,
now. They're fast now. They're fast now.
Oh God, don't evoke that trilogy.
I just did.
Oh Jesus. But yeah, so once they're running full sprints and tackling you, like I'm dead right away. I don't stand a chance.
Immediately. Like, just from fright, they don't even have to get you. As soon as they start running towards you, Brett just dies of a heart attack.
Pretty much.
Here's the thing.
Look,
I'm
is the
guy
zombie land
dies...
trope funny because all the fat people become zombies first because they're slow and fat? Yes, that's true.
Yeah. No, I have resigned myself to being the first guy dead in any horror scenario. Just that's me. And I've resigned myself to that. I know that about myself. That's
not in
just
any.
what happens.
For me, not in any.
No, for me in any. I will die in any horror scenario. What, you mean the killer's just going to walk behind me? I will run and fall over and lie there going, like a Family Guy character until he sneaks up and stabs me.
That's true.
Wowzers.
That's true.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't trip. I would just get winded within like 10 seconds. And then,
I mean, look, ¿Por qué no los dos?
I'd be sucking air so bad, I'd probably have a heart attack before he stabbed me. Let's be honest.
So that's Brett's way out of any horror scenario is a heart attack first, and then whatever death comes from whatever.
Yeah, honestly, like in a Dawn of the Dead remake scenario, I'd probably have a heart attack out of fear more than anything. So
that's what I'm saying, man.
Yeah. But yes, that's my history with it.
Tucker, what about yourself?
Boy, do I have a doozy, you guys. So the original I rented from the Warren Library on VHS when I was a young man in middle school.
Oh, the original.
And
I forgot to mention, I watched the original when my dad showed it to me back in the day with the other three.
There you go.
Carry on.
Okay. And I really liked it. It was like, it was kind of one of those eye-opener movies where I was like, wait a minute, this can be a movie? Like, I can watch a movie and it's this? That's insane. Like, I couldn't believe it. So I was a huge fan. I had probably 6 or 7 different like Anchor Bay releases of it on VHS, like 3 or 4 different clamshells, a couple double tapes where it had like special features on the other tape and stuff. So many. In fact, I have the original DVD collector set that has the theatrical cut, the extended cut, and the Argento cut, plus another disc with special features and stuff, and that's really cool. Now, when this film came out, the one we're talking about today, the remake, when it came out in 2004, I was living in Germany. We had a theater on base that sucked because it was still film projectors and they just hired anybody and nobody knew how to run a projector. So I tried to never go to the base theater. We had a theater that was probably about 10 minutes off base in town, that catered towards the English speaking residents of the town, of which there were many because there was a military base there.
Sure.
They had 10 theaters, 5 on one side, 5 on the other. This side the movies were in German, this side the movies were in English.
Nice.
Pretty fucking cool.
Right.
So I got to see Dawn of the Dead the day it came out. The only problem is that 2 days before it came out, I had just had surgery on a hernia. Left inguinal, for anyone who knows what that is. It's not fun. It's not fun having it, and it's not fun getting it repaired. So I
Living
could...
with a hernia.
Yeah.
I too was singing that in my head.
Yay!
Yeah,
We're
you
all
may
Weird Al
not
fans
be
here.
familiar with the different types of hernias that you could get.
He just starts listing hernias. It's so great.
Yes, and mine's in there. Yeah. Anyway,
Right on.
I could barely shuffle. Like, I was a Romero zombie when this movie came out. And the parking lot to this place, they had a main parking lot that was very small. And then across the street, they had an overflow parking lot. And we had to park in the overflow parking lot. My friend Dave went with me. And it took me about 15 minutes just to get to the theater.
Oof.
Because it was literally like, step, take a deep breath, another step, wince in pain, take a deep breath, step, take a deep breath, step.
That sounds like how I move when I throw my back out. Like, not fun.
It was not fun, but I eventually made it to the movie theater. And of course,
10
the
minutes
lobby's
after the
huge,
movie started.
so it took me another 15 minutes just to get through the lobby. You know, Dave was a big guy. Looking back on it, he should have just carried me. I don't know why.
He should have.
Be like, hey, carry me.
Hey,
He
make
would
me
have.
Yoda. I let me Yoda on your back.
Yeah, dude. But I saw it at the movie theater, and like Brett, you know, the first time you see it at the theater after all the build up, boy, it is wonderful. It really, really is. Of course, with time, seeing it in subsequent viewings, I've owned the DVD since that came out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's never going to be as good as the first time, but I still really, really enjoy it. The one thing that did bother me about it was not that the zombies were fast, but more that fast zombies don't make scientific sense. I mean, zombies don't make scientific sense, but if I'm going to suspend my belief to here, and fast zombies are a little bit up here, because they're dead. They're all messed up. You know? Like,
right.
The only
I've heard
thing,
that somewhere before, right?
The only thing, they are pure motorized instinct. There's one part of their brain that has been reactivated by who knows what, and the only thing, they have very little coordination. They just have an urge to feed. That's all they know. They're babies. They're just babies, man. They're
all
uncoordinated babies. And that's why Romero zombies are slow and shambling, because they're struggling to move, like I was to see this movie, just struggling to get somewhere, putting one foot over the other, like, I guess this is how you walk, like. And that's why I love, in the original, I love the zombies on the escalators. They're just having so much trouble with those escalators.
They're just like turning around, like right when they get on the escalator, and they're just like falling over, tripping over each other. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, dude. And like these zombies, especially, let's say there was a sequel to Dawn of the Dead. Let's say there were mini sequels to the remake.
I think the first sequel should have been called Island of the Dead, because they end up on an island.
Any island,
and they're just fighting the zombies on the island.
You got any cigarettes?
Nope.
So
sure don't.
Yeah, dude.
I just took a puff off of my vape because
that's true.
That's
that
what
did
they
happen.
do in
I
the
witnessed
movie.
it. That's true. They take a puff of their vapes.
They say, no, we don't have any cigarettes, and they get on the helicopter, just light up a bunch of cigarettes.
We have no tobacco today.
One of my favorite moments in that movie.
It is good. But like, if this is the problem I had with The Walking Dead, is that, you know, eventually there's not going to be any zombies left because they will all rot. There's no way in The Walking Dead that they are that far into the zombie apocalypse and there are still that many physically able zombies. They would all just be rotted mush on the ground. It's ridiculous. But anyway, fast zombies. Yeah, like their knees would snap, like their muscles would tear, like they're not built to move like that. Zombies are not built to move like that.
Right.
That's my take on fast zombies, though I do still love this movie, and I do agree that in some situations, if you can suspend your disbelief enough, they can be scarier than slow zombies.
I think
a
Train
different
to
way.
Busan is a great example of how you get a fast zombie movie to work, because I think they work very well in Train to Busan, personally.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I mean, most of the time they're just kind of they're shuffle walking. They're not like running full. Sometimes they are, but like they mix it up a little bit.
They
like,
do.
It's not just straight. They run all the time.
Right. It's the tension of it is what I find so interesting and so fun about that. Snyder said that the reason he went with the fast zombie model here is because he wanted to play against the stereotypical image of a zombie in order to try to make them seem more threatening.
Well, I think he succeeds. This is one of the movies where, like Brett touched on, where the fast zombies are scary despite them. It's just silly that they exist. Now, a movie that does fast zombies poorly, I wonder if we could say it all together. It's World War Z.
I knew I had a feeling that was where you were going. Yeah.
Fuck those fast zombies. You know what? I turned that motherfucker off. I did. I still never have seen the entire thing. Like, once he gets in that room with the chattering zombie, I'm like, really? This is what we're doing? Really?
It is what we're doing.
You had a budget this big, and this is what we're doing? No thanks. Click.
Offset by that great product placement from that vending machine, though.
Oh, I haven't seen it. I saw it once, and I didn't even finish it, so I don't remember what it was.
Nothing will offset the giant steaming dump it took on the source material. So,
there's that too. Yeah.
Garbage. Go back and listen to that episode too. That was a good episode.
Which, I mean, if we're talking about zombie media, go read World War Z.
I have the audiobook on my phone.
That's a good bathroom book. Leave that on the back of your toilet and just peruse through it while you're taking a shit.
Or listen to the unabridged audio version, because the voice cast on that. The voice cast on that thing is insane.
I need to buy that because of the cast.
Yeah,
Nathan Fillion. I don't know. You name it. Like every.
That is why I bought the unabridged one, is because of that cast. So.
Does Mel Brooks show up?
No, but his buddy Carl does.
Oh,
Carl
Reiner? Yeah.
Yeah, they had only released an abridged version of it because they thought it was, at the time, it was too expensive to do a full cast recording because of how many different voice actors they would need to hire. But the abridged version they did release had like Mark Hamill, and I think it might have had the Carl Reiner one on it. Like the abridged version had a great voice cast, so there was a huge like push for them to do the whole thing.
Yeah, and Uncle Marty shows up in the unabridged one, which is, again, part of the reason I wanted the unabridged one, is because I want to listen to Uncle Marty, because I love that guy.
Yeah.
I love my Uncle Marty.
He loves you too, Steven.
I hope so.
Yeah. And, surprise, in the World War Z universe, there's slow zombies.
And
I can't believe it.
And it's very as scientifically accurate as it could be.
Now, if you're getting scientifically accurate, you want the book that came before this, the Zombie Survival Guide, which is another great toilet book.
But it's written by Max Brooks. I mean, it's written by the same guy.
Right. I said it preceded it.
Yeah.
Max Brooks is one of the good Nepo babies, unlike the bad Max Nepo baby, Max Landis.
Oh, we don't. Yeah, he's one of these. Honestly, he's in that we shall not be named.
Yeah, we
category.
should probably stop mentioning him.
I mean, right along with his dad too. Honestly, like just
Right. There's a reason we're probably never going to cover Twilight Zone the movie, and it's because of his dad. So we
Hey,
could.
Joe Dante's still friends with him, so
I'm very upset about it.
just saying.
I would love to talk about the Twilight Zone movie, but
Just
I
saying.
understand why we can't or don't want to.
I mean, I kind of want to also because I like just about everything else about it other than that first section.
I like everything about it, and I wish that I'd never found out about the thing about it. I wish I had never heard about that, because now, like, I can't watch it because I'm like, yo, those people right there, like, they died, like,
Right. Like those
in
three
some
people
in some film that was connected to some of the film that we're watching.
right.
Those
In
people
an
died.
act of just brazen flaunting of safety regulations and
You
good
know,
sense.
I still watch The Crow though, which is weird.
Well, because that wasn't a flagrant disregard for safety. It was a pure accident. It was
Yeah.
like pure. They just didn't. It was an accident.
Yeah,
Like,
they didn't clear the chamber and put a blank behind a bullet, and
Right.
yeah. Poor
Which, I
Brandon
mean,
Lee.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Taken from us way too fucking soon.
Way too fucking soon.
Absolutely.
But
Maybe we'll do an unenfranchised on the fourth Crow movie when the new one comes
I
out.
don't want to watch it though. Oh, because that new one, right?
Yeah.
With Skarsgård. Which one of the Skarsgårds is in it?
Oh, I would guess Alexander.
The one that played it.
Oh, Bill? Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I would guess Alexander, but Bill also makes sense. The middle one. The middle one's the one that doesn't make sense, but okay. But Dawn of the Dead. The remake
of the Dead.
Of Dawn of the Dead. I love the fact that this movie features the two men that would separately become the architects of the DC cinematic universe. Directed by the first one, Zack Snyder, and then written by the second, James Gunn.
Scooby-Doo's James Gunn.
Scooby-Doo, Monsters Unleashed, James Gunn. And at this point in his career, that is what he was known for. He had done some he was Troma, Romeo and Juliet, like just a bunch of Troma shit. He had written a movie called The Specials and had done some.
I like that movie too. Have you guys seen that?
I have not. We could cover it though.
It's pretty all right. It was fun.
That's what I've heard. We can absolutely cover that one though. And he did some uncredited ghostwriting on a movie called 13 Ghosts, which we have already, invoked on this episode.
Yay. Not 13 Goats though.
No. Ghosts.
No, goddammit. Movie. And then, of course, he is at this point most famous for being the guy who wrote Scooby-Doo. And that is the main reason why people did not want him to have anything to do with this movie, because how dare they get the fucking guy who did the Scooby-Doo movies to write Dawn of the Dead? How fucking dare they?
I have one thing to say about that, and it's dummies. 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 Dummies.
And yeah, because let's be honest, like people can, people are vast. They contain multitudes. And just because someone doesn't meet your immediate criteria of what something should be doesn't mean that you get to just blatantly and flagrantly ignore them. So
see everyone who's ever been cast as Batman.
Correct. Or the Joker, with the exception of Jared Leto. But yeah.
And that just happens to be the one that sucked.
It is, yeah.
Which is funny.
Everyone embraced that one, and he's the one that sucked. But yeah. Wild. But yeah, so I mean, but that's what he's known for. So, and again, this is the advent of the internet. The internet is still in its infancy. So, the message boards are going crazy, forums off the wall. Oh, we hate this. We hate this guy. And yeah, James Gunn got a lot of pushback, a lot of, might even say, death threats as a result of this. So, but I think ultimately the script is pretty solid.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, it's got the James Gunn DNA all over it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's got your and this is around the time again where he's very much attempting to be the provocateur. So he's, it's got kind of an edge to it that even some of his later stuff doesn't quite have. But it's still, I mean, it's quirky, it's funny, but still respectful, if not reverent at points, and able to, and actually does have something to say beyond just, hey, aren't zombies cool? Which again is something that I think Gunn does better than 95% of the other filmmakers who work in the kind of genres that he does, specifically the superhero genre these days. Is he's actually, what he said when he took over DC, story is king. We're going to put the story first and foremost. And I think he's very good at that. Now, is he quite as tested here as he would become? Obviously not. He's fairly early in his screenwriting career. And so is this a perfect script? No, but it's still, I think, very serviceable and very well done. If not as nuanced as some of his later work would be.
The thing about James Gunn, I think that makes him very unique, is that he can inject heart into the most ridiculous thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's his superpower. You give him like the silliest fucking thing ever, and he's like, I'm gonna make you cry during this movie. Hold up. Hold up.
Basically. Yeah, that's kind of what it comes down to. And he's able to do it remarkably well. Like, yeah, he's got a just, again, that good ability. I would say at the time he's doing this, the only other guy who really has that kind of reputation around him is another terrible person. I'm about to mention a terrible person who probably ought not be invoked, but I'm going to invoke him. Joss Whedon, the one-time king of the nerds, is the guy who you would count on to make you cry in the middle of a show about teenage vampire hunters. So, that's kind of, it's a lateral line, at least in terms of where they were around this time. And in terms of the kind of stuff that they would become known for really doing well.
Word.
Well, so, but I will have to say, for all of the decent writing, and I'm trying to find it because I don't remember exactly what it says. But there is a line that kind of shits on the message of the original. When they're, if I recall, they're up on the roof discussing, similar to the scene in the original where they're like, they just, why do you think they all congregate here?
Right.
Because they're us.
Yeah,
We're
they're
them
us.
and they're us.
They're just,
the instinct, memory.
Yeah, living out, the commentary on consumerism.
Right. And, made very evident by the final scene where the zombies are literally just chowing down on the people that have been looting the mall for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah. Whereas in this one, they do that same scene, that same line. It's still poignant, and follow it up immediately with, nah, man, I think they're just fucking stupid. Or like something like that. Like they just totally write it off. Like, no, that doesn't make any sense. Fuck that.
But
like,
that's also a very... like that's some of that like 90s cynicism bleeding into the early aughts, like, because that's very much a piece of the kind of caustic, cynical, sort of writing that we would get in a lot of films from around that time. And it's
Sure.
the thing that Marvel does really well now, where they'll give this moment of like brilliant pathos and then undercut it like with a, can you believe we're doing this kind of a thing. Like it's that kind of, you undercut the moment in order to lighten the tension, so it doesn't feel like you're beating people over the head with the thing. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying I like it. I'm just saying I think that's the reason.
Well, because my next point was going to be it's funny how the turntables. Last week you're talking about, how the remake wasn't as good because it doesn't have the same message. And here you are defending the fact that the remake doesn't have the same message.
But okay, but here's the thing I will say for this version that I don't think the 1990 remake of Night of the Living Dead did. It feels like there's an actual attempt at some sort of social relevancy, but it's an updated social relevancy. So it's not the like complete consumerist screed of that presages the Reagan era by like a couple of years, which is, I think, fascinating that the original film does. But we're making a comment on the nature of community in a post 9/11 society. Like, because like every movie that kind of comes out during this time frame, there's this always kind of thought in the back of our heads is, what are we now? Like Fran says in the original film, what have we done to ourselves? And that's kind of the notion, I think, that carries through this film. I think it's still trying to make a culturally solvent point. It's just a different culturally solvent point than the one that Romero's making.
And
Wait,
then-
you're talking about that scene where Flyboy's being a dick, right?
Which one?
yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
It's
pretty much
every
all of them.
scene he's
All of them?
in. Yes. What an asshole, man.
Right.
Ugh,
Exactly.
I hate him so much.
I think
But
you're supposed
but-
to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But so which I agree with you, and I think that would be great. But you don't have to. You can do that without shitting on one of the most poignant lines of the original.
Sure.
You can do that without shitting on dialogue that's like basically that line of dialogue in the original is like part of Romero's thesis.
Agreed.
So like,
I mean, and there are a few of those moments within that original film that I think are really, but again, I'm not saying this film is anywhere near as good as the original Dawn of the Dead. It's not. Like I marked this one a whole star lower than I rated the original film, but it's not on the same level at all. An attempt was made, and I respect that it was made. I respect that it's trying to take a swing and that it's trying to do something, but I don't think it does it as well. This movie does not have a singular thesis going throughout it. I think, but it attempts to do something so culturally solvent.
And
is
see,
what I'll say.
that's so weird because based on what you said last week, like to me, this remake is just it's fluff. It's really fun and it can be really clever, but it's just fluff. To me, there's nothing in this movie that is like serious social commentary or satire. Whereas the remake of Night at least did touch on some of that stuff. It's so weird that we were talking about art. It's so weird, people
Right.
take different things from it. I think it's so cool.
I think I would liken these two remakes, the Night and Dawn remakes, as two different kinds of cover songs, which a similar kind of thing. And I think Night is a much more like true to form cover, like maybe Jeff Buckley's Hallelujah. Like it's very true to the original form of the Leonard Cohen song, but it's his personal spin. So it's different, but it's still kind of in that same like general mood and theme and mode. Whereas like the Dawn remake is more like the country remake of the country cover of Gin and Juice. Like
I would have said like a punk rock cover of something,
right?
because
Like
it gets right to it. Like there's no
just
fucking around in this movie at all. Zero fucking around.
It's doing a completely different thing while still riffing on a lot of the, I would say specifically imagery of the original film more than things like theme or character. Like Tom Savini, you get the idea that he just worships and reveres the original Night of the Living Dead. And so he wants to make something that is reverent. Whereas I think Gunn and Snyder are more interested in riffing on the original and trying to do their own thing within the framework of the original rather than feeling like they need to be so beholden to what the original is. And so I guess, I don't know, for me, that's the distinction. I did like this one, I think, a little better than the remake of Night. That may change.
Really?
I did. That may change a little. That may change on subsequent rewatches. I think Brett is gonna like not talk to me for a week again.
This is
all
damn
right,
near
Brett.
close to you not liking the original Friday the 13th.
I was going to say that's
it's
the other
close.
thing that made you not talk
That's
to
real
me
close.
for a week. So
That's all right, Brett. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one, and they all fucking stink.
That's true. You're right.
So, but I don't know. I'm just, again, and like I said last week, I am willing to be wrong.
So,
put me in my place, gentlemen.
Well, what I mean, I thought we had pretty solid arguments to put you in your place last week, but you fought your way out of that paper bag. Like, we gotta beat you at a debate to change your mind. It's not just like prove me wrong. It's like, no, you fucking get in there and you spend an hour on a thesis to prove me wrong.
I'm
my
the guy.
opinion is changing.
I'm the guy at the table in the meme, like blank is blank, change my mind. Like that's kind of, I guess, where I'm at with these. But and again, I don't have the same reverence for these that, or for the originals that you guys like. I saw the original Dawn of the Dead like
Today.
an hour and a half ago.
A couple hours ago. Yeah.
I finished watching that an hour and a half ago. So like as of the time of this recording right now. So like I don't have that kind of just the reverence for the thing. Did I love it? Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. Is this one as successful? God, no. But and maybe the reason I didn't care for the Savini remake of Night of the Living Dead is because I've seen the original Night of the Living Dead several times. Maybe that has something to do with it. Well, okay, fair. But that's the only one I've seen several times. I've seen Day once and Diary once, and Night I've seen like 5 times. So I don't know, man. I'm just over here trying to make a guess as to why it hits different for you than it does for me.
Look, man, yes, I've learned to temper my expectations about your horror opinions because you don't have the emotional attachment to them that I or Tucker do.
I don't really have that much emotional attachment to most art, but yeah.
And that just makes me legitimately sad, honestly. Like, I don't know how you could not have emotional attachment to most art. That's weird.
I like what I like, man.
That's
but I'm
straight
not
up what art is, dude.
I also try not to be precious about things. Like I like what I like, but I respect someone who may not like it to the extent that I do, or may not have it resonate to the same degree. You know, like
those aren't the same thing.
Yeah, like
those aren't anywhere the same thing. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works.
But
like, I respect your opinions about stuff, but I am so emotionally attached to art. Like, my God, it's the core of my being.
Like,
as passionate as you are about movies, you're emotionally attached to movies, and movies are art, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But by the same token, like I'll hear other opinions. Like I don't know. I'm willing to. But I don't know. It's not everything that I am, I guess. Like there's more to me than just my love for movies.
You guys know the meme with the kid and the headphones and he's just freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that 3 times just today. I'm just saying, man, you gotta let art into your heart, Steven. Let art into your heart.
Like, you don't have to be, and maybe this is the problem with the internet age and social media nowadays. It's made you think that your opinion is your passion, that they're the same thing. They're not. Like, just because your opinion might differ or you're okay with accepting other opinions doesn't mean that you're not passionate and you're not emotionally attached to the thing you like. They're not the same.
Yeah, dude. I cried listening to George Benson today, dude. You guys. It's like soft jazz. Come on.
I'll cry.
Let art into your heart, Steven.
Like,
I cry all the time. Like for the past year and a half, 2 years, it has not taken much to make me cry at any. I watched all of the Muppet movies and I cried at every single Muppet movie up until Treasure Island.
I don't think I would have cried at all of them, but there would be at least a couple times in the first film and
the
Christmas
first
Carol where I would just be blubbering my dick off.
Oh yeah, the part toward the end where like they're in the ghost town and all of the rest of the Muppets come up behind Kermit when he's doing the square off with Doc Hopper. I just because all his friends love him and it gets me every time.
Shut up, Steven. I'm getting misty eyed. Shut up.
And when he sings Rainbow Connection, and then at the end when the whole set breaks and the light comes in and the rainbow shines on all of them and they start singing all together and there's a whole bunch of them. Just fucking gets me every time.
Yeah, dude. That's what, man. Then you do have emotional responses to art, Steven. Come
on, man. You literally
just
said you just described an emotional attachment to art, my guy.
I'm
Put
willing
the
to be
weed
proven
down,
wrong, and
Steven.
I have been proven wrong. No,
Put the weed down.
You can have my weed when you pry it from my cold, dead, zombified hands.
Oh, that's all right. We're learning stuff about each other, guys. That's what's beautiful about the format of podcasting. We're just three dudes, like, just becoming better friends. It's wonderful.
And you all get to listen to us do it. That's the
Yeah.
thing, man.
You might
That's
even
the
say
thing.
it's a rainbow connection.
Just sitting here watching your boys grow every week,
Just becoming
personally
a little closer.
and together.
Right. Just becoming a little bit closer every week to the people they were always destined to be.
Yeah, dude.
Guys, we're almost an hour in. Should we do the plot?
Let's do
60?
it. Let's do the plot. Yeah.
Let's
do it.
So for those of you joining us for this episode for the first time, first of all, welcome. But second of all, this is the part of the show where one of us, at the behest of the D6 of Destiny, will recount the plot of the film we're discussing, in this case 2004's Dawn of the Dead remake, in 60 seconds or less. And to determine that, which of us will read it, Brett will assign sides to each of us from the D6 of Destiny and then roll that sucker.
So let's see. I hate it the most, so I'll be 1 and 2. I feel like Tucker's probably in the middle. 3 and 4. Steven, you're 5 and 6. You seem to like it the most. Let's go! That is a 4, ladies and gentlemen. That is a 4.
I'm
Which
always
means
in the
that
middle, man.
Tucker.
Yeah, see,
That's
so
me.
I've noticed something. That, like, because we shift the numbers around every time,
Mm-hmm.
I like never have to do it. And
I
I'm
was going to
kind of in
say,
love with
I
that.
don't
Like,
think I haven't noticed that, Mr. I'm the one that rolls the D6.
oh, wait a minute. I take umbrage with your accusation, sir.
I trust you,
Because
Brett.
I was about to suggest that maybe we stop assigning them and we have the same 2 every time.
That might
It's
be
more-
a better idea.
It's more
yeah.
fair that way, so maybe I'll have to do it sometimes.
I feel like that it would make sense that Steven would be 1 and 2, Brett would be 3 and 4, and I would be 5 and 6.
All right.
We'll institute that starting next week. You still have to go.
Because
So
you
it
want
is
to know
written.
why, though? Because Steven steers the ship. Brett and we kind of riff on the steering of the ship that Steven does, but Brett was here before me, so he goes before me. It's
And also,
perfect, right? Like, that works, right?
Yeah. I agree with that.
I accept
Yeah.
it. I accept your logic.
Yeah.
And again,
Anyway,
I wasn't really steering. I was just kind of riffing on everything. And then Brett's the one who's like, hey, shouldn't we do the plot? And I'm like, okay. You notice I'm never the one that says, well, let's do the plot. I just get so into talking
That's the
about
other thing I
movies.
was going to say. Like, I'm wondering, because this happens on some podcasts that have a running thing like this, is that it starts to happen later and later in each subsequent episode
Mhm.
until eventually it doesn't happen anymore. It just goes away.
Well,
I mean,
we haven't
over
done the
150
segment.
episodes in, so
We haven't done the segment that we didn't do from the beginning, but we started doing for a while, and then we totally forgot to do it again. But sometimes we still do it, but shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
We haven't done that in a long
we haven't done
time.
that.
That's
in
kind of
several episodes.
that's Bit's gimmick, though.
Well, but I agree with you, Brett, that the longer we hold off, it feels like, it might just get cut altogether. So I feel like that we should implement maybe plot in 60 like right off the bat, like first thing we do after we have our introductions, roll into the plot. Why are we having a band meeting?
There was that one episode where we had Jim Roner on and he had to leave early, and so we didn't do it till after he left, which was like an hour in.
Yes.
That was a good time.
That was Little
Like, we were
Monsters,
pretty
right?
much-
Wasn't that Little Monsters?
Yeah, Little Monsters. We were pretty
Yeah.
much done with the entire thing. And I'm like, hey, let's do the plot.
And then we continued on for like a half an hour after he
Yeah,
left.
you and I kept talking after that. Yeah.
Speaking of
Anyway,
60, let's fucking do it.
I have 60 seconds on the clock. Tucker, the time begins whenever you do. And as always, I will give you the 30 and 10-second warnings.
So Sarah Polly's character, she works at the hospital, and she comes home and she talks to her friend that's a kid, and then she goes to sleep and she wakes up and the friend that's a kid is a scary zombie, and she does this weird like superhero jump and land, and she bites her husband, and her husband turns into a zombie, and she runs and she gets in the car and she drives and she crashes her car, and she meets Ving Rhames, and then they meet that one guy and Mekhi Phifer and his lady, and then they go to the mall and they meet the security
30
guards, and then
seconds.
Zombie Baby, and then fucking they armor up all the cars because their friend Andy, well, not because their friend Andy, but because I forgot to mention him. And there's this dude Andy across the street, and they talk on a sign, and they play games, and it's really cool. And they armor up the trucks, and they go out, and everything goes wrong, and everybody dies. And even when they end up
10
on the island,
seconds.
everybody dies, and everybody dies, and it's over, and everybody dies because the man came around.
Right. 2 seconds to spare. Well done.
That was good. That's good. That's a good one. I feel like I really explained that plot, like the broad strokes and some of the intricacies. I really nailed it.
Except for completely missing Andy, 100%. Which was like my
Right.
favorite character in the movie. Honestly.
I came back to it.
You did.
Much like Andy,
I
they
didn't
circled
mention the
back
dog.
to him.
Fuck.
You didn't mention Chips. That's true.
No.
But I tell you what's cool, and Tucker, you probably know about this. Steven, you probably don't. All the extras that came with this movie.
Yeah.
Like there's whole, like Andy gets his own like short story film of like.
I have the DVD, dude.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I think I read about those like on the DVD, but yeah.
Yeah.
Dude.
Like and then that tells his story before and during the movie.
And like
You
up
know-
until
His
he gets
perspective.
bitten,
It's
right?
weird because they did film a lot of that for the actual film. And I was actually reading something about Blair Witch the other day, like that documentary that they released a couple weeks before Blair Witch came out on Sci-Fi Channel. That's all shit that was supposed to be in the movie, because originally they were going to make it documentary style and then have the footage interspliced.
Right.
So those two things, the Curse of the Blair Witch and the Blair Witch Project, that was supposed to be one thing. And I just found that endlessly fascinating, because I can't believe after all this time I'm just now learning about this.
Right.
Yeah.
So all the Rustin Parr stuff and all the footage and stuff from Curse of the Blair Witch, they shot when they shot the movie. They shot it for the movie.
Right
I think that's interesting. Anyway, Dawn of the Dead. Yeah, the DVD has it goes. You have the tapes from when they go to the island. You have the tapes like Andy's old tapes. Not Andy. What's the guy's name?
Steve?
The guy who has the boat.
Steve.
Yes, all of his tapes
Burrell,
are on
yeah.
the DVD. There's so much on there. This was 2004 was kind of DVD was king. Special features were king. Like
you were
when you make
filming
a
stuff
movie,
behind the scenes literally for the like they were
you
doing
probably
stuff on
had an
set for the
entire
DVD.
crew, another
Mhm.
entire crew just going around doing shit, interviewing people, filming behind the scenes.
They would give
Yeah,
a cast member like a little GoPro-esque camera and just say, here, just like film a diary and we'll put it on the DVD. Like shit like that just happened all the time in the early 2000s.
And there were also full versions of the newscasts you see in the movie.
Yes.
It's the full version. Like it was really cool. A lot of the extra stuff for this movie is really cool. Because like I said, I'm a whore for like outbreak starting in zombie movies. I don't know why.
Yeah, it says the lost
Cathartic
tape
to see
over.
society collapse, I guess.
Well, and I think that's a huge thing just for zombie movies in general. I think the people that make zombie movies tend to be really obsessed with that moment, because I think they're obsessed with the idea of someone's world being turned upside down, and then you catch up with them later and see how much they've changed in the interim, or how much they've changed from the outbreak to where they are at the end of the film. It helps complete a narrative arc, I think, a lot better, which may be why you're a sucker for it and why filmmakers keep going back to it. Like we said, that's one thing that makes this trilogy different from Romero's original, is that every single one has a different start of the outbreak.
And what a start. It's just a wow, this movie just like rips your face off and shits in your eyes. Like
It really does.
As soon as it comes on, like you get a little bit of time to breathe. They're at the hospital still. You're like, oh, something's going on. I know this is a zombie movie, and they're at a hospital. They fake you out a lot in that hospital too.
They do. They really do.
And then once she wakes up in the morning, it's like Evil Dead, like the original Evil Dead. Once it starts, it does not fucking stop. It doesn't stop. Like it's throwing you through wall after wall after wall. Fucking Mortal Kombat versus DC style. Just bam, bam, bam.
And I mean, the little girl's got her like lips bitten off, which means that probably one of her parents like got infected and like bit her little lips off.
Oh, that's one of my favorite fucking things, is seeing the different ways that through like background storytelling they sort of tell you how they got bit, like, or you can sort of interpolate how they got bit. I love that shit.
I feel like it's kind of an upgrade, honestly, to what Romero does in most of his movies, where they just sometimes have funny outfits on. Like sometimes
Right.
you'll get a clown. You
Yeah,
know, in Day, there's a clown in
there
Day that
is
pops
the
up all
clown
the time. You've got
zombie.
the
Yeah.
Hari Krishna zombie in
Right.
Dawn.
Yeah.
Like you always got somebody that's like, that's not something you see every day, but that tracks.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
it would make sense there would be a Hare Krishna in a mall.
like Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
I was about
Yeah.
to say,
Yeah.
like this is one of the first movies way before Zombieland that touched on like celebrity zombies. Like celebrities would be turned into zombies too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. In this case, I think it's probably more likely that they're all lookalikes because, are there celebrities in Milwaukee, Wisconsin? Probably not.
Maybe.
Oh, no.
You know, like I don't know. Sorry, I had something to say and then it just like flew away from me.
What
Just
were you going to talk about the
completely.
DVD extras? Because we kind of cut you off there. What were
That's
you,
true.
I
what
we
was
were you
gonna
did.
saying?
talk.
Sorry.
I was gonna talk about Prince, but that feels like just way too much of a tangent.
You a tangent?
So
No.
the DVD has the lost tape, which is over 15 minutes of terrifying footage revealed. Chilling images from a recovered home movie document Andy's last horrific days as he battles zombie hordes outside his gun shop and fights to maintain his safety. So that's cool. Plus the thing we were talking about with the full news reports, which is cool, which is something I really wish they would have done, that they would have done on the Diary of the Dead DVD. Because there's so much, especially with those news reports at the beginning, that I'd really like to see all of that fleshed out, like on a DVD extra. Actually, there's a lot of stuff in that movie that I'd love to see
Yeah,
fleshed out.
and the DVD is just so bare bones. But maybe that was just budget constraints. Because I mean, it's not like they had a whole lot of money to film Diary with. So
Yeah, I'm in real time perusing my DVD collection here. So the Diary of the Dead DVD has a commentary with Romero, a documentary on the film, yeah, outtakes, like, yeah, none of it is, well, the character confessionals, and yeah, I do remember that, so that's kind of cool. They did it kind of like reality TV style. But other than that, you would think there would be so much more in this movie,
yeah,
especially
it's
with
a
the news
shame.
reports and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I guess since Steven's back, we have to start talking about Dawn of the Dead again.
I mean, he's seen Diary, so
I have.
Yeah.
That's one of the three that I'd seen prior to this whole thing.
Yeah, I think it's fine. That's what I think of Diary of the Dead. I think it's
back
fine.
in the day when I used to really love Diary, like I used to say it was my favorite zombie film, but I've since seen better. So
Yeah, and it's not bad. It's not bad at all. It's
No.
far from a bad film.
and I mean,
I don't think it. I would say I don't think that it stacks up. I think the only one that it's better than is Survival, but it's still. I really like. I own it, man. I went to fucking Lafayette Square to get this DVD. Come on.
Damn, you must really love it.
Dangerous. That is
It
dangerous.
is.
Well, I'm sorry, in 2008, that was dangerous.
You put your
I don't know
life
what it's
in
like now.
hands to get that. It's probably worse now, honestly.
Probs.
They don't call it Lafayette Scare Mall for nothing.
Jeez Louise. I would not. Nope. There's a lot of bad neighborhoods in Indianapolis that I feel very comfortable in. That is not one of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fair.
It is.
Scary
But yeah.
place.
So yeah, Dawn of the Dead. What I don't know, like again, this movie's doing something very, very different from the original. And to the extent that it doesn't really feel fair to call it a excuse me, doesn't really feel fair to call it a remake, more as so much as like a reimagining or a riffing on what the
I
original
say it's an
was trying to do.
homage.
Homage.
It's an
yeah.
homage with a lot of Easter eggs.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like when you know, adaptation in name only. I would say this is a remake in name only.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A Reno,
absolutely.
if you will.
Completely different than last week, where, you know, we had some big changes, but essentially it's the same movie.
Yeah.
This is the only thing that's the same about this movie, is that there's a mall involved. and they reference the original a whole bunch, but not in a way that like affects the story.
Right. It's mostly like lines and kind of throwaway moments,
Cameos.
cameos, character names, like the fact that Kenneth is named Kenneth is an homage to Ken Foree, who appears as a character saying his famous line about, you know, the no more room in hell, so the dead walk the earth. You know, you've got those moments which are very tongue in cheek and very fun, but yeah, it's a very different move. This could have been called something else, and I think it still would have worked as a zombie film. It did not have to be Dawn of the Dead. It could have been just Mall of the Dead, and we probably would have been okay.
That's always really been my biggest issue with this movie, and it's a non-issue because who fucking cares? Like it's just being pedantic, like whatever. But still, I mean, it is worth discussing for sure.
We're nerds,
But
and so we reserve the right to be pedantic.
I do just think it's very silly that this is called Dawn of the Dead.
Real quick, Steven, quick Oops All Christianity corner for you. How, from your point of view, how do you feel about that character? Like, do you feel like, I mean, that's probably where the church would go? Like, you think they would go that route to, like, it's all of your fault because you're all sinners? Or...
I mean, that does tend to be the route the American church tends to take these days. And if you look at it in a post 9/11 lens, I think that becomes even more stark. Like, because we're talking about a national disaster, like a disaster on a national scale, similar to what 9/11 actually was. And immediately in the aftermath of that, you have Jerry fucking Falwell going on some news channel and saying that the reason that 9/11 happened is because God was punishing us for allowing homosexuality to persist unabated in our culture.
What a piece of shit.
That is a thing that fucking happened, and we all let it happen. And I say we all in that, you know, the church and like so many people did not fucking hold him accountable. And I regrettably so many fucking agreed with him in that moment. And even at the time when I was significantly more conservative and bass backwards than I am now, I remember thinking like, dude, read the room. Like even me at that point was like, dude, chill. Like, and you have, but that's kind of always been the role of the televangelist, because it's not actually about the faith. It's not actually about propelling it forward. It's about reaping the benefits. It's about, and this Trump would do this very successfully years later. It's about lionizing a certain subset of the community that feels very disenfranchised and getting them worked into a tizzy about something that ultimately doesn't really affect them, but you're going to make them think that it does in order to get them on your side. And it's a dog whistle is really all it becomes.
And if they're on your side, they will give you money, please.
Correct. Which is, I mean, really, it's about prosperity at the end of the day.
It's all about greed.
It is.
Which is fascinating.
Is the central tenet
to me, that even in an apocalyptic situation where, I don't know, maybe it's just hubris that they think they're going to survive it, or like maybe at that point when that broadcast is happening, it's not full enough into the end times yet, that maybe he thinks this is just, you know, a thing.
I mean, it can't be that far after the outbreak because we see the outbreak start. So
sure.
Yeah, and not much time. I don't feel like more than a couple weeks really go by. I remember just based on the dialogue,
takes place within like maybe a month. So
yeah, I was gonna say I was surprised by the dialogue this time because I never noticed before. Sometimes they do mention like the passage of time, and it's not very much time. They'll be like, "Oh, you remember what happened yesterday?" And it's like the last scene, and you're like, "Holy shit, really? Like we're moving through time that quick? Holy crap!"
Right.
Yeah. So it's fascinating to me that they, you know, televangelists would double down even when the world is ending. It's like, you're not going to get any donations from your followers; they're all dead. So what's the point? Like, even in the face of being proven wrong, you have to twist it your own way.
That's not the mark of a religion. That's the mark of a cult, and we see that with the fucking MAGA.
Is there a difference,
right
really?
now. like Trump is put on. There is, if you really want to get technical, there is, but that's another discussion.
No,
for
I know.
another time.
I know.
That's a whole other
Yeah.
podcast on our
Yep.
Patreon.
Yep.
Patreon.com/disenfranchise.
Disenfranchised pod.
Disenfranchised
Disenfranchised
pod.
pod. Right. I don't do the plugs that often. Sorry.
I know.
At
Look,
least I tried. Okay. At least I
no,
tried.
Brett, I
I
appreciate
applaud
that
you for
effort.
trying.
I really
Yes,
do.
that was wonderful. Like,
Thank you.
way to step
give
up.
you-
I mean,
I'm
you
gonna
fucked
give
it
you-
up, but like, you got your boys here to like, we got your back.
Yes.
I'm gonna give you such a big hug the next time I see you. It's just not even funny.
Thank
I'm gonna take a picture of that hug.
Please do. I want you to,
Yeah.
and I want to put it on all of my social media accounts.
you.
But the I don't even know what I was about to say. But I mean, you see it with the MAGA asshats now. Like Trump is on trial for literally defrauding the entire fucking country and this specific group of people. But they're so far into this shit that to like turn around now is to lose so much face and credibility. And so they have no choice but to double down now because, well, it had to be for something, right?
Well,
It
and why
couldn't
would
have been
they-
for nothing?
Why would they do anything but double down? This is the guy that validates their shitty opinions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because any sane person is, and that's why, like, before the whole Trump thing, why are we talking about this? Before the
I was
whole
about to
Trump
say, let's
thing,
not. We're veering too far.
like-
Let's steer
But,
it,
I mean,
Steven. Steer it back.
To bring it back to like would an evangelical double down? I think absolutely they would double down. This is all they know. This is willfully. This is all they know. This is literally as far as they've allowed their understanding to progress. So there's
and it
nothing
also
beyond
fits
it.
their beliefs and agendas too. Like, they don't have to think about anything or consider anybody else's opinion, or maybe say, I think I might be wrong. What's going on here?
Yeah, it
No,
doesn't- it
it's
doesn't
very
take a
simple.
leap.
You just,
It's a small walk to say, like, well, yeah, hell's full because you're all sinners. So now the dead
Mhm.
walk the earth because there's no more
Correct.
room there because you're all
Right.
fucking sinners.
And that feels very much like a Westboro Baptist kind of opinion. Is because they believe they're all going to hell too. There's no hope in Westboro Baptist. Their theology is so fucked. There is no hope even for them. Like it's the darkest.
But I don't
fucking
know. Some of
timeline
them have gotten
religion.
out. Like the daughter of the main guy, she got
Mhm.
out. Like, she was pals with Kevin Smith for a while. They did like
I
a
mean,
whole
it's-
podcast thing.
It's up there with like Scientology, just in terms of like how embedded that shit is. But yeah.
Yeah. We will be bringing this back up next week because John, in the original Day of the Dead, has some like-minded comments to put forward for speculation.
I am. Does Romero ever deal specifically with religion in one of his zombie films? Or
Well, spoilers for next week, but when Sarah comes out to the RV
Mhm.
with John and what's his nuts, McDermott, they're talking, and John's like why the fuck are we even down here? We got all this shit down here that nobody's ever gonna find. Like, humanity's done. And he's all like, if you want an explanation for this, I'll give you one that's as good as any. I'm paraphrasing here. He says, maybe we've been cursed by the creator. Like, he's sick of us trying to figure his shit out. Yeah, dude. And like, he also says something about like, it's kind of a the flood, sort of Noah flood thing, where he's like, we're getting too big for our britches, and God's like, no, back up, guys. And that's spoilers for next week.
Well, I guess we'll circle back to this topic again next week then.
Yeah, that's as far as I know in the Romero films. That's the only time that he has directly had a main character like exert a religious opinion about it. Because like, you've got Ken Foree in the original Dawn of the Dead explaining what his grandfather used to say. He's not saying, hey, I'm Macumba, voodoo, like, this is me, this is coming from me. He's like,
Right.
have you heard of this? My granddad did this, and this is what he said.
Yeah, he was a high priest back.
So I feel like it's kind of I feel like it's kind of different,
Yeah, I agree, and I think I don't know. I think it would be interesting to do a zombie movie from that kind of religious perspective.
It probably exists.
I'm sure that if it
because
does,
after this movie hit, there were about 100 zombie movies coming out a month for about 10 years.
Yeah. This movie kind of catalyzes the zombie trend to the extent, like, I think 28 Days Later and Resident Evil like paved the way, but this movie really kicks it off. You get kind of the trickle effect for those two movies in 2002, but then 2004 hits and it's just, that's it.
And there's a lot of really good stuff that came out of that. But you guys, I'm still finding stuff from that era of movies that's good, because back then it was just too much to slog through, because 90% of it was fucking shit. Like really, really bad. And to find the good stuff, you had to go through so much shit. Which is, now that we're so many years removed from that era of zombie filmmaking, it's easier for me to find something because people have examined it and re-examined it, and the hidden gems have come to light, etc., etc. I'm in a position now to where I don't have to surf along the wave of shit just to get to like a diamond.
Nice.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah. It's also been, no pun intended, done to death. Like, they're running out of zombie ideas. Like, there is really a finite amount of stories to tell there.
I think, I don't know, on some degree I agree with you, but on the other, I think zombies are the perfect horror villain, the perfect horror antagonist, because they can literally be a substitute for anything you're afraid of.
And they can be in any setting. It's just like Final Destination.
Right.
Where, like, I don't understand why there has not been a Final Destination movie released every year since the first one, because it's so simple. You make the deaths creative. You have a story that at least works, and you get some good-looking early to mid-20s actors to say some fun dialogue and watch them all die. There's a formula to all of this.
Yeah, but 4 bombed real fucking hard, and 5 couldn't recover from it.
I know, and that's
so...
which is why I don't understand.
One,
it's a lob. A Final Destination movie, you get a good crew on it. It's just so, I could write one right now probably. Give me a couple weeks.
Saw did it. Saw picked up that ball and ran with it.
Yeah, they really did. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the Rube Goldberg deaths kind of transferred from Final Destination over to Saw.
I prefer Final Destination.
Well, you haven't watched the Saw films yet, which you're
I have. I'm gonna. I know, man. I'm gonna do it.
Look, the people are clamoring for a disenfranchised on the Saw franchise. So
me too.
Look, the end of the season was today. I just need a week to just relax and maybe catch up on some sleep. And then
sleep when you're dead, Tucker. You don't need to worry about that now.
I'll be, what's the Weird Al song? I'll be something when I'm dead. I'll be mellow. I'll be mellow when I'm dead. You guys don't know that one?
There you go.
No.
It's a song all about what you were just saying. Yeah.
Must be one of his originals. I'm not as familiar with his originals.
Yes, it is a style parody, and it's I think it's on his first record, the self-titled one.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I've become more of a fan of the style parodies and the original songs than the actual outright parodies as the older I've gotten. Because I really appreciate the musicianship. His band is amazing.
Oh yeah.
And speaking of musicianship, what do we think of Snyder's needle drops in this movie?
They're fine. Like, I don't know. Like,
I mean, yeah, like the Johnny Cash song at the end. The Richard Cheese needle drop is always great.
The Richard Cheese needle drop might be one of my favorite needle drops in film history. God, that was so well timed.
But
yeah, it's a good montage. It really is.
Because I mean, that's a thing that Snyder gets a lot of shit for, is just the constant needle. And it was something that even the DC films started to, like, particularly the original Suicide Squad. You're just like, fuck, really? Again, another one? But those were all very on the nose. But I think it's something that Snyder catches a lot of shit for, is the constant needle drops.
It doesn't stand out in this for me either way. I'm kind of indifferent to it. Like, what? Oh, it didn't do you. Well, like Brett was saying, like there's a few really good needle drops, but the rest are forgettable. Like, they're not bad. I'm not like, why the fuck are they playing this song? I hate this. It's more
Right.
just like, okay, this fits, I
But-
guess, whatever.
It's
But
not
in
like
J-
we're zooming into a scene set in New Orleans playing House of the Rising Sun or, all the
Or
fucking
walk into New Orleans.
right, all the fucking obvious as fuck ones in
or
Suicide Squad.
That was
or
my Sam
Vietnam
Cooke.
movie with Fortunate Son playing. Same thing.
Or my least
You
favorite
do
needle drop
not.
ever.
You do not make a Vietnam movie without Credence.
You
Look,
really
I don't
right.
like it. I don't like it as any more than you do, but it
But you
is
have to.
law.
No, I agree. I don't like it at all. It fucking sucks. But we talked about that on our fucking Forrest Gump episode.
I would be I'm mad when it's there, but I would be even more mad if it wasn't there.
True. No, what I was gonna say is like, so James Gunn sees Zack Snyder's bullshit. Well, those needle drops goes holds my beer and makes the Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
There
But
you go.
and
Yeah.
I think that what makes those work is that those all work within the context of the film that he's putting together, right? And
For me,
Snyder,
the third one's a bit
don't
too much on
always-
the nose, but yeah, I agree
I
with
think
you.
Watchmen is kind of where Snyder goes off the deep end with his needle drops a little bit. Like there's that really great opening sequence to The Times They Are a Changin' that I think is still one of the great opening sequences of a movie. Like that opening sequence is
Agreed.
the best part of Watchmen. But the rest of those needle drops do not, and a lot of them he's pulling right out of the comic and they still don't work that well.
Well, for me, with Watchmen, why are we talking about this? With
Zack Snyder.
Watchmen, like, okay, yeah. So
There's a
with
connection here.
Watchmen, what I appreciate about the needle drops in Watchmen, unlike Guardians of the Galaxy 3, is they're not all obvious and they're not all songs that everybody knows. You might find a new favorite song in Watchmen. There's going to be a few songs in there that you don't know. And I really, seeing Zack Snyder's other films, I respect the restraint in Watchmen because he is usually more Guardians of the Galaxy 3, where it's like, oh, look, it's this thing. I'm going to take the song that is most literally connected to it and play it behind it. And then you guys will make the connection and everybody will be happy, No, in Watchmen, he throws some deep cuts in there and it's really impressive based on in context with his other work.
And again, a lot of those are cribbed directly from the comic too. So
Yeah, which I mean, either way, it doesn't matter. Like, at least he could have done different songs, ones that everybody knew, but he's stuck with it, which I really wish he could have just stuck with the original ending. Did you guys watch the Watchmen TV show? That was really good.
it was really good. I agree.
It was really, really good. Brett,
It
did
was
you see
very
that?
good.
I never got around to it. No.
It should be-
Motherfucker, it's
it
on
tends to
HBO
be
Max.
Yeah,
Watch it right, dude. You are gonna love it.
it's good. It'll
So
make
good.
you. It'll make you wish they did another season of it. But
Yes.
it was kind of one of those things like we want to do another season, and Damon Lindelof's like, I got nothing, man. I don't know what you want from me. Like I did what I wanted to do, and they're like, but you could do more, and he's like, no, I'm
Nope.
good.
No, sometimes you gotta know when to bail.
You got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them.
Yeah, walk away, run, etc.,
Really?
etc. Yeah.
Yeah.
Based on Lost, he didn't really seem to know when to quit, right?
Well,
Well, he was a
maybe-
young man then.
I was gonna say he's
learned.
learned. He's learned.
All right. Well,
I
and he
mean-
doesn't have J.J. Abrams there to like fuck him up either.
Or Carlton Cuse for that matter. So,
Or Terry O'Quinn? I don't
Oh,
know anything
Terry-
about Lost. Sorry,
Terry
Terry
O'Quinn
O'Quinn's
wasn't
in
one
it,
of
I'm
the-
sure.
wasn't one of the showrunners, but he's in the show. Yeah.
I'll bet he runs at some point in the show, so same thing.
Is
He's
it
got
though?
you there.
It's not.
Got
It's
you
not the same
there.
thing. It's not.
Got you there.
It's not. Oh no, it's not the same thing. That one, I'll give you that one.
Literally.
Thank you, Brett. I
Literally.
appreciate you coming
There
to my
was an-
aid there, but
there
no,
was
I
an
can't. I
attempt.
can't defend that one.
I mean, I could have, but it's fine.
Go to bat for me, Brett.
It's like you backed up.
Ace
you backed
attorney,
up way too
objection.
fast.
Wow, there's.
But yeah, but that Richard Cheese needle drop is just perfection.
It's good, and then they bring it full circle, and that's the only time that I will ever sit through and partially enjoy "Down with the Sickness" by Disturbed. Is in the end credits of this movie, just because they Richard Cheesed it first,
Right.
and then you get to hear how fucking stupid and ridiculous the original song is, and it's chef's kiss. I love it. I will say this: short tangent on Disturbed. All of those guys are amazing musicians. They're all experts at their craft. I just think their music lacks any kind of soul or heart or humanity. It's just robotic and fucking yeah.
My
Except for their
partner's gonna
cover of
come
Sound
for
of
you,
Silence.
Tucker.
No, dude, like they made the Limp Bizkit mistake on that. They didn't go to the best part of the song. Like they cut the best part of the song out. Like when it yeah. Anyway. Sorry, anyway. You guys we're getting so far into the weeds.
Well, then direct
I
us
blame
back to where
myself.
we need to be, Tucker.
We were talking about needle drops in this
We were.
movie, and then I don't know that I had
Well,
much
yeah, we were. I
else.
think we were done with the needle drops.
Yeah, I think we were.
Yeah.
You know, so where do we go next, Tucker? You tell me.
I don't know. The cast is pretty fantastic in this movie. There's
I
a lot
do
of
like
really
the
cool
cast.
people in this cast.
You have, welcome back to the show, Ty Burrell, who we last saw in the Incredible Hulk episode, where he appears as Leonard Sampson, playing a very un-Phil Dunphy like
Lenny.
character. It's always fun to see Ty Burrell pop up and stuff before he was on Modern Family.
Modern
because
Family, yeah.
that performance has pretty much tainted everything else he's done, because I'm just like, Phil, why are you being like this, Phil? No, Phil, this isn't you. Think about your wife and kids. You love them so much.
He is perfect in this role, though. Like
He
he has
kind of is
just
really
the
good.
right amount of like swarminess, like icky. Ugh.
I hate the fact that just about every Steve or Steven in film is just an asshole.
Is
I
that
kind of
true?
hate that. As someone named
What
Steven.
about Steve Rogers, man? What about Captain America?
Okay, he's the exception, but just about the rest of them.
It's better than every Brett in real life being terrible.
Oh, that's right. I think you are the only Brett I know that doesn't suck.
Right.
It's true.
But I mean, you get even the Steven in the
give you a
original
different
Dawn of
name.
the Dead sucks.
What about Steven Universe?
I don't know Steven Universe. He spells it with a V though, so I don't know if that counts.
Oh, yeah, okay. Fuck it. Damn it. You don't get Steven Universe. That sucks.
Yeah.
That's a good poll. Like that's
I haven't seen that show. I need to see that show.
That's too bad. You should see that show. It's amazing.
That's what I've been told.
I cried during most episodes of that show. 90% your boy's blubbering.
Right on.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Ty Burrell is really good. I was not expecting the video footage in the end credits with him.
Yes.
And so we see a woman take
a
bikini top off. I'm like, what the fuck is this all of a sudden? And then it's on his boat and it's him. And I'm like, wait, he died. Wait, what happened?
These are people who died.
I love the moment.
The song.
Right. I love the moment where he turns to Sarah Polly and says, if that ever happens to me, I want you to shoot me right in the face. And she's like, oh, it's going to happen. And then when the time comes, she shoots him right in the face and you cheer. You love it because he's such a fucking asshole.
Yeah. Who else we got there? Mekhi Phifer in the worst part of this movie, the zombie baby and pregnancy subplot. That one, we could have just left those characters out and left that whole thing out, and movie would have chugged right along.
I like Mekhi Phifer.
I do too.
I don't think his performance is good. I don't think the role is particularly interesting. But I think
it's just stupid and I hate it, honestly. Yeah. Like it insults my intelligence. That whole subplot insults my fucking intelligence.
And really his name drop in that lyric of 8th Mile. It's what I think about all the time.
This ain't Mekhi Phifer. This ain't no damn movie.
Yeah, this ain't no movie. There's no Mekhi Phifer.
He's also in the John Singleton Shaft movie that we'll cover on this podcast one day.
Ooh, I can't wait to watch that.
But yeah, no, Mekhi Phifer, a good actor, great performer. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like the character. I don't like the subplot. I don't like the zombie baby.
Me neither.
Who the fuck does? Stupid. What the hell? Come on.
And again, that feels like, because there is a pregnant character in the original film, so it feels like that's the way that we can
made that connection.
That we can riff on that,
I guess,
but then do something, really edgy and cool with it that kind of like fucks you up when you watch it, and it's unsuccessful.
And also the whole pregnancy subplot in Dawn of the Dead, like first of all, you don't riff on that, and you don't riff on it like that. Like that was
Right.
a real serious fucking thing. Like,
Yeah.
oh, your decision's made, Steven. Like that was a whole,
Mhm.
like, their big argument. Oh my
Yeah.
god. Like you don't turn that into, look, zombie baby. Like fuck off. Fuck
It
right
feels
off
like
with that.
it feels on
Another
that
example.
level
It's disrespectful.
like
It's
a
Another example of
fundamental
disrespecting the
misunderstanding.
original. Yeah.
It feels like a fundamental misunderstanding of what that
Oof.
subplot was and what it was for.
Ooh, that. Ooh.
And again, that's Romero's like comment on that the new wave feminism, and the fact that Fran never screams in that entire fucking movie was an intentional choice on the part of that actress. Romero asked her one time to scream, and she's like, "No, this character is too strong. She's not going to do it." He never asked her again. He was like, "Yep, I get it." And so that character never fucking screams in the entire movie. And you know what? I love that. I think that makes her a very good character.
Damn it, Steven. You just took a half a star off of my rating by making me realize the connection of those two subplots.
Sorry.
Good.
I wish you'd never told me. No, it's always better to know. It's always better to know. If there's knowledge, you should consume it.
I Michael Kelly. I love Michael Kelly.
Oh yeah.
Or as I call him, Jelko Ivanik's American cousin. Even though they're not related, they look similar enough that I always make the connection. I always think Michael Kelly is Jelko Ivanik and vice versa. I don't know why, I just do. But in a role like I've never seen Michael Kelly play before, basically playing a proto MAGA asshole. And you know what? He does a really good job.
Yeah.
And I like his arc going from I would kill all of you to survive to sacrificing himself so the group can survive.
I do love that.
Getting bitten and turning to that propane after he's blown up like 3 propane tanks already in the movie, turning around and go, it fucking figures, and just shooting the propane tank right in front of his face.
I really like his character arc in this. I think it's probably my favorite through line.
It's the best
of this
one
movie,
for sure,
because he is such a piece of shit at the beginning, but then like he finds a community, you know, like he's never had that kind of relationship with a group of people before, and wow. Yeah. And there's some really good writing in this movie. There's some other stuff like the zombie baby, but there's some really good shit in this movie.
Because he starts with this like authoritarian hard ass asshole basically, and through
selfish piece of shit
learns what it means to be a part of an intentional community, which is really cool to see, and ultimately makes the ultimate sacrifice for that chosen family, which is, again, I think, the really poignant send-off that we get. Yes, he does it in the most sarcastic way possible, like, fucking figures, or whatever he says before he fires that last gunshot.
Die, you son of a bitch.
But we know but we know he's doing it ultimately for noble reason, so that the rest of the group can live. And that's fucking
power friendship.
Yeah.
Power
friendship is magic. It's like those ponies told us all those years ago. Friendship is magic.
Friendship is rare. Etc., and so on for about 2.5 minutes.
Right. And then, of course, Ving Rhames. We stan.
Absolutely.
We love Ving Rhames.
You say that this week. Next week, you might be saying something different.
I know. I mean, Ving Rhames is like my favorite recurring character in the Mission Impossible movies. Like,
he is wonderful. Like, as an actor and everything.
I'm just like, I love him. Yeah, I just want to give him a big hug.
Yeah. He'd be like, Steven, get off of me.
Nah, he'd hug me back. I think he's.
We have the meats.
There it is. What about your boy Matt Frewer, though? From Max Headroom himself.
I do love Matt Frewer, man. Like, and he's. I expected him to be skeevier because he plays a really good skeeve. Also appears in Zack Snyder's Watchmen. But yeah, he's
wholesome.
He's got 2 modes. He plays like a really good skis or an asshole, but then he also can like do these really poignant, heartfelt moments, and that he's playing a good dad in this movie. And he's a good dad. Like, you expect the other shoe to drop at any moment, and it never does. Like, he's just a really wholesome, good dad, and I love that.
And
for him.
even when I also love, like, even when they're like, "Yo, we got to kill you," he's like, "Well, yeah, that tracks. Like, that makes sense. I get that.
Right?
So
Yeah.
let's go ahead and do this." Like,
And he just asks that they consider his daughter's feelings, and but resigns himself to, yeah, I need. And but they wait until he turns, and then the moment he turns, he's gone.
yeah.
But yeah, love that. Sarah Polley, Academy Award winner Sarah Polley.
Oh, she's doing. You know why you haven't seen her recently is because she's doing a lot of shit behind the camera, man. She's not
She's
so much in front of the camera stuff anymore.
a director
She's
and a
a
writer, and
celebrated director. Yeah.
won her Oscar for writing the film Women Talking this past year, earlier this year actually. So she began her career as an actress and then eventually pivoted into directing and writing. And you know what?
She hasn't been in anything since 2010.
You know what? Good for her.
Yeah.
And since then, she's been like directing and like I said, directing and writing, and I love that for her. I really do. Like, I kind of want to go watch some Sarah Polley movies. I've heard the Stories We Tell is really good, actually.
I've been meaning to kind of go through her writing and directorial filmography as well, because I always liked her as an actress in like
Yeah.
the late 90s and early 2000s. All those independent films that she did, I always thought she really stood out.
Well, and I mean that because a lot of her acting was in independent films, and so she's like running around in the opening scene of this movie and says to Snyder, I think I've run more in this scene than I have, in my entire career up to this point. And
Yeah.
Snyder's like, you should probably get used to that. So yeah. So maybe it's no wonder that she kind of like eschewed like larger, big budget stuff following this, and did, went back to doing a lot of smaller films with, a couple of exceptions here and there. But
Yarp.
yeah,
I mean,
no,
the whole cast is great though.
there really are. There's not really a false note here. I love
Outside
it.
of, I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
I was gonna say just outside of Mekhi Phifer's girlfriend, just because she doesn't have anything to do.
Her entire
And just
reason
by
for existing is pregnant.
the basis of her existence is just annoying in the first place in this situation and the way that she's presented. I'm
To
not saying
bring
pregnant
zombie
women in
baby
this is,
into the movie.
but just the way that she's presented in this movie, to where she seems very helpless and depends on Mekhi Phifer for everything. She's a nothing character, and I feel bad
Yeah.
because I'm sure this actress is great, but she just has nothing to do in this movie
No, nothing
at
at
all.
Which, and again, I think that's a script problem.
Yeah.
I mean, we can flesh out a couple of other characters, a couple of our other female characters, but not this one for some reason.
Yeah. She's the pregnant one, man. That's all you need to know.
That's it. That's literally her entire character is pregnant. A really well realized moment is when I think it's Nikki runs into the building to save the dog. That just rang true. Like 100% someone would do that.
And I love that she survived, and you don't think
Mhm.
that she did. And even Homeboy's like, why are we going after a dead person? Like, she's totally
Exactly.
dead.
Right.
And then there she is. And you're like, holy shit, she survived. Like, I don't
And
even
the
really care
dog.
about this character, but the situation, like, wow, you had me going there. I was pretty sure they were going there for nothing. Good job, script. You had me going.
Yeah, and it's like save the cat to the nth degree. Like it's the platonic ideal of a save the cat moment where you can save the cat and make it a hero moment all at the same time. And she does.
Well,
She
and
saves the dog, and it becomes a hero moment for her. Like, it's great.
and they build up to it too, which makes it a big hero moment. Like, there's
Yeah.
an entire like 2-minute scene smack dab in the middle of the movie for no reason where she can't find the dog,
Mhm.
and she freaks out. Then she finds the dog and everything's fine. It has nothing to do with anything else except
Right.
to build up that moment where she gets in the van and just drives across the street for a fucking dog.
And it's a great moment. It really
Yeah,
is.
it makes it feel real. Like, at first you're like, why the fuck do I care about this? And then you see that and you're like, okay, not wasted time. Got it.
Again, for its flaws, this is a pretty good script. It's not super
pretty
tight,
good.
but it's pretty
Yeah.
good.
It's sloppy, but it's fucking good.
It
It's like
is.
Keith Moon's drumming is the script to this movie. It's sloppy, but damn. It's
It
like
gets the
Jimmy
job
Page's
done.
guitar playing. Like, that's amazing, but also I think he like hit the wrong note a few times, and I think he might be behind beat a bit. Like,
Right.
I don't
Just a
think he's really
little.
on tempo. How drunk is this guy?
Right. There you go.
All the drunk is the answer to that in the 70s.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Keith Moon, 100%. But I mean, he was the basis for the Muppet Animal. So I mean, if that tells
Yeah,
you
dude.
anything. But no, I generally like the script to this movie. I think this is again some of the best directing Snyder has ever done. I think this is the one that I think most people kind of give him, like, given his filmography, they're like, oh well, that's the good one, quote unquote, the good one. And I do. I put this on par with Man of Steel for that. These two kind of hit the same bar for me. But yeah,
As far as Zack Snyder goes, I will echo what you said at the beginning of this podcast that the fans certainly leave something to be desired.
correct.
But I think that Zack Snyder is a very talented filmmaker, especially visually.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of like Michael Bay in that way. Like, you really
Yes.
need a good writer to like
Another director who gets shit on quite a bit, but yeah,
who is an amazing, like, he's
he's a
so
visual
talented.
stylist. Yeah.
It's the same way with Zack Snyder. He's so fucking talented. And you see it even in his shitty movies.
Mm-hmm.
They're beautiful.
The man knows how to tell a story visually, and that's all
Mhm.
directing really is visual storytelling. So yeah, he's able to do his job very well. I just think that his fans have kind of really kind of ruined things for him, and that's kind of a
Yeah.
bummer for him, honestly.
Yeah, not to mention the whole thing with his daughter and everything, and then Justice League, and then not
Yeah.
Justice League. It's been a rocky road for that dude. I'm actually glad to see that he's having a lot of success working with Netflix. Like, that
Yeah.
makes me happy that he's found like a spot to where he can do the things that he wants to do without too many people telling him what he can and can't do. And I think that's going to be prove to be a good thing for him and for how good his art is in the future.
For all its flaws, I think that's something that Netflix does inordinately well, is just allowing filmmakers to make the movies they want to make with very little interference. Like, that's how we get Martin Scorsese's The Irishman. That's how we get Army of the Dead. Like, there are these filmmakers who come to Netflix to make the movies that they want. That's how we get Michael Bay's Six Underground. Like, we get these movies because Netflix is like, well, we'll let you make something. And they give them the budgets that they require and let them make those movies. And the sad thing is they only give them the barest perfunctory theatrical run, but that's why we get fucking Glass Onion by our boy Ryan Johnson, like,
Well,
because Netflix ponied up the cash for it.
It's both fortunate and unfortunate, because with filmmakers like Ryan Johnson and Martin Scorsese, and to some extent Zack Snyder, those films do have staying power.
Mhm.
But that's not really Netflix's business model. Netflix's
Correct.
business model is as many flashes in the pan as we can have consistently. We don't need
Exactly.
people to be watching this for more than one weekend, because we got something else coming out next weekend.
Exactly. And I'm grateful for like the Criterion Collection and others that are willing to put some of those movies onto physical media, because Netflix is completely uninterested in that, which is a big fucking bummer. And I mean, I know all of us are physical media enthusiasts. So
well, I feel like they have
media.
they would be silly not to think that if they do a movie with Martin Scorsese, it's not going to get a physical release. I feel like some of these are just a given. They don't care if it happens or not, but they have to know that it's like with the Wes Anderson shit. They just made the deal with Wes Anderson for the Roald Dahl thing. That sucks. But you best believe that's going to come out on physical media, because it's a whole thing.
I don't know. I
Like,
think if
the people who
Criterion
watch that buy physical media.
I think if Criterion hadn't stepped in for Irishman, I don't know that it would have gotten a physical media release.
I feel
because
like
Glass Onion
it
still
would have.
hasn't. Glass Onion still hasn't.
It hasn't? I thought they'd announced that. Did they not?
They?
Oh, you're faster than me. Getting to the keyboard. I was about to look it up myself. I was almost sure that there's a physical release. I'm really
Oh,
surprised if there's
There,
not.
there is. I'm sorry. No, I stand corrected. There is
Blu-ray, 4K.
Blu-ray. I don't. Let me
Nice.
see about the 4K because honestly, I would much rather have it on 4K.
Oh yeah, if the option exists, yeah, way into it.
I do own Knives Out on 4K. It looks like it's
Hell
just
yeah.
Blu-ray. Looks like just Blu-ray,
Yeah, well,
which does bum me out a little. I'm not gonna lie.
it's better than having to buy it on DVD, like most new TV shows that broadcast in 4K.
Right. Oh
And the only
God.
thing that's fucking available is a 480 DVD. Come the fuck on. Look, I'm gonna say it right here. This is a hot take. Anybody that is still buying DVDs, and if
Time
you
to
have an
update.
HD TV,
Time to update your shit. Let's be honest.
no, dude, what are you doing with your life? Like Blu-rays cost the same, sometimes cheaper. Come on, come on.
Come on.
Either start buying Blu-rays or get yourself a CRT.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry. Again, I'm in the weeds on something that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
That's fine. What else do we have to say about Dawn of the Dead? Because I think we're getting close to coming in for a
Man.
landing.
Yeah, I'm ready to land this plane.
Well, so I have a thing. Not
Yeah.
about the remake, but there is a question that has always plagued me.
Ooh.
Maybe it's not relevant, really. Maybe it's an obvious answer. Maybe
Yeah.
it's a plot hole. But in the original, when Flyboy gets trapped in the elevator by the zombies,
Mm-hmm.
why don't they just tear him apart inside of that elevator?
Actually, he fights them off, is why.
Yeah.
He fights
But-
them off. They bite him several times as he's fighting them off. He pushes them all out of the elevator except one, which he shoots in the head,
Shoots in the head.
then pushes out. The elevator closes. He dies.
And then when it opens, he's completely zombified.
He's a zombie, yeah.
Well, maybe I should have rewatched it. I thought I'd seen it enough,
You
but
should
like
have.
I seem
I'll
to
send you the
recall, and maybe it was a Mandela effect thing happening, but I recall my memory like there were a bunch of zombies in the elevator with him when the doors opened back up. Maybe I'm just misremembering.
No,
that.
when it opens, they come at him at first, and they're like, "Oh, no thanks," and then
Yeah.
they just go on about their business. So maybe that's what you remember,
And
because
then-
there
but
is a
then
scene where
he
they're like
leads them
"rah,"
up.
and then they're like, "Oh fuck, never mind."
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then he goes
Okay.
and leads them upstairs because he's
with the gun dangling from his finger.
right, holding it out
Yo.
because he knows it's supposed to be held out, but doesn't know
David
why.
Emge is the star zombie in this
He's so
movie.
good. So
He
good.
is great. His shuffle, just since he got bit in the leg, he's just dragging that fucking leg.
He kind of like stumbles and like turns a circle, like when he first comes out, like he's figuring
Yeah.
out how to walk again. It's really
They're just
good.
babies, man. They're just babies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Cool,
good.
mystery solved. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, dude, no problem.
What
Watch
we're
Carry
that.
saying.
on.
Watch Dawn of the Dead again, dude. Watch that original extended
yeah,
cut.
yeah.
2 hours, 19 minutes, and 47 seconds. That's the one you want.
Was that the one, not the Argento cut?
No, see, okay. So you've got the theatrical cut,
Let's
which is
get us
fine.
into the versions of the original.
The theatrical cut is fine. It's serviceable. It is the film. The extended cut gives you more context while keeping the pacing tight. The complete cut is for diehards only. It's kind of like the Frighteners director's cut, to where it's not good, but it's fun to watch to see like the stuff they cut out and why. Like if you're
And that's
interested in the
Argento
film.
cut, right?
No, the Argento cut
Oh,
is shorter than the theatrical cut. The editing is even quicker, and the entire soundtrack is by Goblin instead of just certain tracks. Yeah, it's shorter. I think it's like 83 minutes.
Oh,
The
wow.
Argento cut is. Yeah, so you got your 4 versions there. The extended cut, 2 hours, 19 minutes, 47 seconds. That's, to me, that's the definitive cut. The theatrical cut will work in a pinch.
Yeah. And that
The other
version is
two
on
are
YouTube.
just
I will see
curiosities.
if I can't link to that in the show notes.
Yeah, because it's all over YouTube. And I believe there's even like 4K upscales on YouTube.
Nice. So, yeah. The Zack Snyder remake of Dawn of the Dead, however, opens on March.
Which also has a
19th.
director's cut, by the way. There are 2
It
versions
does.
of that film as well.
An unrated director's cut. Opens March 19th, 2004. On a production budget of $28 million, it grosses in its opening weekend 26.7, which is enough for it to open at number 1.
Yeah, that's good for that kind of movie at that time, for sure.
Dethroning the previous week's number 1, which I'm pretty sure had held the number 1 spot for the first 3 weeks of its release. A little film that we will probably cover on a Patreon show that we previously mentioned, Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ.
Oh boy, I hate that movie.
Man.
In its 4 weeks in theaters has grossed $295 million.
Jeez Louise.
The only movie I've walked out of in complete silence.
You know what?
No one was saying a fucking word walking out of that movie.
Nope, not at all.
And it's like I enjoy some torture porn movies, but that one just takes it too far.
That's Mel Gibson for you.
And I get why it does it, but it just gets to be a lot at a certain point. Like, I've seen Temptation of the Christ. You don't have to milk it like that. Anyway, we'll talk about it on Oops All Christianity Corner. I'm excited about that.
Maybe that's our Easter movie. That's our Easter.
Straight up maybe, dude.
Straight up maybe.
Is Jigsaw biblical? We'll talk about it.
Maybe.
In third place is the Angelina Jolie Ethan Hawke thriller that no one remembers, called Taking Lives.
I remember the poster, but that's it.
Yeah, I remember the twist of that movie, and it sucks. I loved it at the time, but literally the next day I was like, that actually sucks.
Never seen it.
You're not missing much. In fourth place, future episode of this podcast, Starsky and Hutch.
Hey, I like that one. That's fun.
Dropping to 4 from 3 after 3 weeks in theaters. And in fifth place, God, fuck this movie, I hate it, Secret Window.
Well, why don't you like that movie? John Turturro's great in that movie.
John Turturro's great, but that's about it.
Johnny Depp's good in it too. Like, what do you not just? Elevator pitch. What do you not like about it? I want to get through this quick, but I also want to know.
That movie hinges on the twist, and I figured it out in the first 5 seconds of the movie.
Oh,
We don't have time for this,
right.
but
Nope.
I hate that.
Yeah.
And that's not a reason to hate that movie, but we're not going to get into it right now.
The rest of the top 10, in sixth place, we have Hidalgo. In seventh place, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Love that.
Quickly before Tucker.
Michel Gondry. Fuck yeah.
Eighth place, Agent Cody Banks 2, Destination London. Can't believe that movie got a fucking sequel. In ninth place, 50 First Dates, a movie that has been reclaimed as problematic. And in 10th place, Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, a movie
you guys
did not know existed.
Movie you what? Steven, when you were talking about Agent Cody Banks 2, and you said that nobody remembers it, I was going to say...
I just said no one was asking for a sequel, but yeah.
You also said something about no one remembers it?
I think I was saying that
well?
About Taking Lives, but okay.
Doesn't matter. I'm going to apply it to this. We all remember it about as much as Frankie Muniz does.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is not at all.
That's a myth. Did you know that's a myth? That's not real.
I did know that.
Okay, good.
But I love it so much. I love the idea of it. I want to see a movie
He's
that's just
done
based on that
many
myth.
an interview since where he's like, well, I don't even know where the fuck that
I
rumor
want
came from.
him to do a movie in that alternate universe where he doesn't remember that stuff. That's all I want.
So this movie grosses, as we said in its opening weekend, $26.7 million. It goes on to gross a total domestic box office of $58.99. So basically $59 million domestic. And that's off of a production budget of $28 million. So over twice its budget. International box office adds another $44.5 million for a total worldwide box office of $103.5 million. And we never got the sequel because, as Tucker mentioned at the beginning, they handed that money to George Romero and let him continue his series.
But guys, how about that segment that we haven't really been doing a whole lot, but we're going to do it now because we talked about it earlier in the episode. So shut the fuck up. Does it deserve a sequel? Do you want to see a sequel? Do you want to see a sequel to this?
Kinda, yeah.
I would. I would see another zombie movie written by James Gunn and directed by Zack Snyder, because at the end
Island
of
of the
this
Dead is
movie,
kind of what I want.
everybody is dead.
Right.
Everybody's dead. So it would have to be akin to the original trilogy where they just move on in the outbreak with all new characters. But I would
Right.
definitely fucking watch that.
Yeah. I want them to go back to that any island and, you know,
You
find
want
out what happened.
reverse 2011 thing. They could do that.
Yeah.
Right? Like you've got it, like it's the same outbreak, you're further along in it, all new characters, but then like at some point they come across the island and they find the
Mhm.
videotapes. Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd watch
And
that.
maybe Ving Rhames somehow survived and is just kind of like
big Braves.
Ving Rhames.
We have the meats.
Love that guy. The tomatometer score on this certified fresh at 76%.
I wouldn't see a
That's
sequel,
fair.
by the way.
You wouldn't?
No.
Oh.
No? Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Okay. You wouldn't want. You just wouldn't. You would refuse to watch it. You'd never. If it existed, you'd be like, you know what? It's my life's work not to watch this movie. Fuck it up. It's righteous A.
I am not that amount of petty. I wouldn't want to, but I'd probably watch it just out of curiosity. And
you're saying you'd be apprehensive. You wouldn't exactly be supportive, but you would eventually look at it out of curiosity.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Well, yeah.
Right on.
Standards.
Yeah. I could dig it. 75% on Rotten Tomatoes, you guys. That's
76% on Rotten Tomatoes. A kinetic, violent, surprisingly worthy remake of George Romero's horror classic that pays homage to the original while working on its own terms.
That's been a bit of an understatement and an overstatement, like all at the same time.
Does it though?
I would say it does work on its own terms, but
well, yeah, but does it pay homage though? Does it though?
I mean, Tucker said
Easter
it was
eggs
an
and
homage.
cameos. Easter eggs and cameos.
Tucker
That's
said
all.
it was more an homage than a remake, but yeah. The Metascore is 59 based on mixed or average reviews from 37 critics, and the Letterboxd score is
harsh.
a 3.4. Brett, out of 5 stars, how are you rating Zack Snyder's 2004 Dawn of the Dead?
Much like Tucker, it dropped a whole half star, and I didn't think that was even possible. So that 2.
Okay. Tucker, what about you?
It was a 4. And then Steven proceeded to further ruin the zombie baby subplot. So now it's a 3.5. Good going, Steven. Good job.
That's what I'm here for. It's a
3.5. I can't believe you've done this.
It's a 3.5 for me as well.
It doesn't deserve 4 stars. This movie doesn't deserve 4 stars. What are you doing, Tucker?
I don't know. I like it. It's so much fun.
I do think it's fun. Is it as fun as the original? No, but it's still pretty fun.
And that guy really doesn't have any arms, and that's cool. You know what I mean?
He's got an arm off.
Your arm's off. No, it isn't. What's that then? How about you? Yeah, good times. And that, friends, is our episode on 2004's Dawn of the Dead. So that's all we got to say.
Let's talk about Shaun of the Dead sometime. They probably wanted to do a sequel to that.
Yo,
I mean, they
know what?
Did.
Here's the deal.
And he does say he never won. He has said he's gone on record as saying he would never do one. So
yeah, right. So it kind of doesn't fit our format, but yeah.
But I think I could finagle it to make it fit the format, the entire trilogy, because there are sequels that aren't sequels, and each one of those films, well, except for World's End, does kind of set itself up for a sequel.
No, World's End absolutely sets itself up for a sequel.
Oh yeah, it does. A TV show. That's what I want.
I'd watch the hell out of that.
Yeah, dude. In honestly, post-apocalyptic with Gary King, with all of the young robot versions of him and his friends.
Yeah.
I think a really fresh zombie idea would be like, well, what if we just integrate zombies into society, like the end of Shaun of the Dead? Like,
yeah.
Have you seen Fido?
Well, yeah, but that's like a different aesthetic and like a different. That's like, what if the zombie apocalypse happened in the 50s? Like, it's different.
Yeah,
it's different enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fido is great though.
It is really good.
I've never heard of it.
Steven, Steven,
Oh,
put it on your
dude,
list.
you should check it out.
Maybe not top priority, but definitely put it towards the top of your list.
Well, you could throw it onto your 31 days of Halloween horror watching.
I was going to
If
say,
you're in.
I don't know if I'm going to actually hit the full
I
31 because I'm
don't
11 days in
know.
and 3 movies deep, but I'll see what I can do.
Oh,
'Cause
dude.
what's the who plays Fido? What's his name? I never remember.
The guy. He's in the thing
Oh,
where
that
he
guy?
plays the
Really?
other guy. Yeah. You know, the dude where he's the
Very
guy.
like a very famous British actor.
Yeah,
Or
he was-
Scottish. He's
Billy
Scottish or
Connolly?
Irish. He's Irish.
No, he was in that other thing.
Billy
where he was
Connolly
the
is
guy.
Scottish.
Billy Connolly. That's
And
his
it
name.
is Billy Connolly, yeah.
He plays the main zombie, Fido.
Yeah, dude.
I like Billy
Carrie Ann
Connolly.
Moss in that
Carrie Ann
bitch.
Moss is the female lead playing a 50s suburban housewife
Yeah, dude.
living in a
It's really
post-apocalyptic
good.
zombie world. It's great,
So
man.
good. That was
All
one
right.
of the ones that really rose to the top during that time because it was during the era where you had to swim through a sea of shit, like I said earlier, to get to the diamonds. And this one was worth the swim.
Yeah, 2006. So there you go.
Yeah, dude.
Right around
Yeah.
that time frame.
Really, what if Fallout had a baby with Night of the Living Dead?
I rented this from Netflix, like the DVD service Netflix is
Mhm.
how I watched this.
Right on.
Good shit.
That's also how I watched Moonlighting because no one's been able to watch Moonlighting for years. Until now, it's finally coming to Hulu.
About
Finally.
time.
That's why, like, I'm so confused when I talk about Moonlighting to people and they're like, I never saw it. I was like, it's not on streaming or anything? I had no idea until recently that it had never been on streaming. I rented the DVDs from Netflix. So where are we on social media?
Right. So you can find the Disenfranchised podcast wherever you get your podcasts. In fact, where you're listening to it right now, you can find it there. And while you're there, go ahead and leave us a 5-star rating and review, especially if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. That way people can find us and listen to us just like you're doing right now and just have a great time just listening to 3 friends being friends and talking about movies and disagreeing and getting angry, but being friends all the same. That's just the journey we're on together as friends. You can also shoot us an email, disenfranchpod@gmail.com. Let us know how you think we're doing. If there's anything you would like to see us do more often, or if there is a movie that you would love to see us cover, shoot us an email and we might just try to cover it as soon as we possibly can. You can find us on all the social media. We are on Instagram, Letterboxd, Twitter, Facebook, and now Blue Sky @disenfranchpod. I am your host, Stephen Foxworthy. You can find me on Twitter, although I'm barely there anymore, Instagram, Letterboxd, and Blue Sky @Chewy Walrus. Brett, where can we find you on socials these days?
You can find me on Instagram, Letterboxd, and now the barren yet fresh feeling world of Blueski.
Good old Blue.
So I couldn't put the underscore for Blueski, so it was just Sus Warlock there. Everywhere else, Sus _ Warlock.
Right on. And Tucker, where can we find you these days?
You know, I'm always hanging around YouTube at Ice909. That's ICENINE, the number 0 and the number 9. You can also find me on Instagram with the same handle. We also do Tuck Mugs. The team over at Tuck Mugs was really excited this weekend because we got a submission from my very own flesh and blood, my sister.
Right.
What a submission it was.
With the first ever Tuck Mug celebrity sighting.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Very cool stuff.
It is
Tuck
pretty
Mugs
cool.
is kind of on fucking fire right now, and not in the way that the world is on fire, but
Right.
like fucking on fire, like in a good way. Like, yeah, we're doing it. Tuck
Like
Mugs
it's
is the
getting
shit.
hot in here, so take off all your clothes kind of a way.
Yeah, dude. Yes.
Yeah.
So check out Tuck Mugs, Tuck_mugs on the Instagrams. And if you're a fan of this show, or even if you're not a fan of this show, if you fucking hate this show, but you have a mug that you really like that has a cool story behind it, holler at your boy. I'm not going to hold it against you if you hate this show. Like, I get it. Like, I know people that that if they listened to this show and they heard me being this manic and nerdy for an hour and a half, would probably jump off a cliff.
Over 2
So
hours
I
on
get
this
it.
episode.
I get it. But still submit to Tuck Mugs, man. We need content. I have only so many mugs. I'm not saying I'm running out anytime soon. I'm just saying, I only got so many.
I mean, if you want some Tucker Light episodes, you can hit our early catalog or just listen to our Spiral episode.
Yes. Hey, there's so much more content without me than there is with me. So if you hate this show specifically because of me, you're still a fan, dude, because I didn't even exist until like 100 episodes ago. And even then it was once a year.
Yeah.
Like there's 105th. This is our 155th episode.
It is. Yeah.
I am a host in 10 of them. Not 10 of them. Sorry. Like 40 some of them, and I'm a guest on like 3 of them. So
right.
And so you got over 100 episodes. If you think I'm annoying, which most people do, even myself, I do, then just go back to before this January and have yourself a time.
But you know what, Tucker? This show probably would not still exist without you. So
now that is true.
We love and appreciate everything that you do.
Word.
And we thank you for being here and keeping us together.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Fuck you, sir. Sorry, I was getting into next week early. I apologize. I'm so sorry. Day of the Dead's just bleeding in already. We got to end this sooner. I'm just going to start talking about Day of the Dead.
Wonder what we're going to cover next week.
I always forget that it's a secret, and then I give it away on the main feed. I apologize.
Oh, that was a thing we killed. We killed that a long time ago. We killed that in episode 4.
The reason we stopped announcing at the end of the previous episode what we're covering on the next one is because a couple times we fucked it up and ended up not being able to record that episode or something happened, and so we just you know what, let's not do that anymore. So we just stopped altogether. And sometimes that still happens. Sometimes we do have to make an 11th hour change. So yeah, that's why we typically don't, although this has been pretty locked in and Tucker's pretty adamant about it. So
we don't like to break promises around here, guys.
We don't.
That's true.
So if we can help it. So
sometimes we readjust promises, the Rage Carry too, but they're still kept.
We're getting there. Okay. Yeah. Tucker's gonna get his way. I had to promise a mountain and move some shit around, but it's gonna happen. So but we're gonna make it happen. So anyway, that is all we wrote for today. This has been the Disenfranchised episode on Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. I am your host, Stephen Foxworthy, from my co-hosts Brett Wright and Tucker. Until next time.
When the dead walk, senores, we must stop the killing or lose the war. And scene.
We're going to try not to come back.
You already said that, though, when you introduced me. It doesn't work if you do it twice.
Actually, that's how I introduced Brett.
Same thing.
We're going to try not to.
We're pretty much the same guy, right?
Back. I mean, in so many ways.
Can you tell us apart?
I mean, you both have beards. That's about where the similarities end.
We're both really bad at voguing as well.
That too.
So until next week, folks, you ain't just down here by yourself, boy.